All right, we're back. We're back. We got the whole squad minus Arian right now is taking care of his daughter. I think that she is under the weather a little bit. She'll be okay. But Arian's being a good dad. We are actually I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'll just say we are pro parenting on this podcast. Arian's an all pro dad. Him and Dan Orlovsky. We've got Coley here. We've got Mad Dog, Big T, Billy, myself. Avery's out. Funny that Avery's out for this episode. Last name sounds a bit Russian to me. Just interesting.
He's been gone. I don't think he's been here since
the invasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conroy's been here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, Avery is he's like doing the opposite of what Billy was threatening to do, going overseas to join Ukraine. Actually, is he Ukrainian?
He might, honestly, I think.
I'm pretty sure he's Russian.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure he
Could
left
be both.
His family left Russia for a very, good reason.
For legitimate reasons, as opposed to the people that left Russia for bad reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, Avery is fighting on one side or another, over in eastern Ukraine somewhere. But no, we're back. How have you been, Coley? It's good to see your face again.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, the Celtics are the best team in the world, so my attitude's usually directly tied to that. So it's hard to be upset these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean they beat the Nets.
Beat the fuck out of them.
The
They had
Nets-
no idea what was coming.
The Nets are that team this year that's everyone's going to forget about them, and then it's going to get to playoff time, and everyone's going to be like, oh shit, let's all bet on the Nets because they've got all the names and they've been predicted to be the champions for the last 3 years basically, and then they're just going to continue to disappoint in the playoffs.
Are they going to make the playoffs? The real playoff?
Probably. They still have Kevin Durant. Like, that's enough. And a quick stay woke for you, PFT. Are they throwing a home court so Kyrie can play in 4 games as opposed to 3 if they had home court and he couldn't play in Brooklyn?
I love that. Yes, I think that they are. They're definitely doing that, Coley. That's actually like a big difference. Getting Kyrie.
Huge difference.
It's very funny that we've gone this entire season with the whole Kyrie saga just never going away. I love it though. And they've got Simmons, and who knows if he's like actually recovering from an injury or if he's doing the respectful thing where it's like you have to still pretend to be dealing with some sort of lingering pain for a certain amount of time after you get to the new team, so it's not totally obvious once you start to be able to play. But it's funny, we were just talking to JJ Redick earlier, and I think he's going to be on Wednesday's part of my take. And I just I floated out the take that I've had for the last couple of years, which is that Ben Simmons is right-handed. And it's not just me that has had that take. I know that Kevin O'Connor and a few other people have said, like, he might just be right-handed and not realize that. That's why he's such a bad shooter. And then JJ was actually saying that he's been trying to convince Ben that he's right-handed for years. He said that Ben writes right-handed, that he does everything right-handed except for shoot a basketball.
I'm pretty
I don't think it's a convinced thing. I'm pretty sure his dad forced him to play left-handed because it was like another thing that would help get him drafted and like stand out. And it's like, we're way past that. Like you're there. You've got the max deal. Like, you're where you're supposed to be. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, when he goes up to shoot, all of his mechanics are that of a right-handed person up until the very last second when he inexplicably crosses his body to just fling it near every time he drives, every time he gets near the rim, he never goes up with his left. It's always his right. You only do that with your dominant hand. He would be one of the better players in the league if he shot with the correct hand. There's not a doubt in my mind.
This is such a stupid predicament that he's gotten himself into. Like, I can't believe that this is a real thing because he is at the top 0.001% of people in the world at his job. But he still just pretends to be left-handed for some reason.
It makes me respect him so much more that he's doing this with such defiance. He's like, no, I am going to, like, it's one of the more impressive things in professional sports that he's not only got this far, but he's been an all-star. Like, he's been good intentionally playing with his offhand. Like, Bird would do it for a night, and you still hear about it 40 years later. He does it every day of his life for no reason.
I did a TikTok on this, and I think there's video of him shooting with his right hand,
Mhm.
and he looks amazing, and he's hitting every
Money.
shot.
Money.
Yeah.
You know what we need to do? We'll talk to memes about this maybe. Get some footage of Ben Simmons, just like the rare jump shots that he has made during games, but just play the videos just flip them horizontally.
Mirror them, yeah.
And be like, look how good he is shooting right-handed, but it's all clips of, you can see like in the background the NBA logos backwards, all the writing on the court's backwards, but it's just Ben Simmons wetting threes.
Mm.
I think he only has 3 made lefties, so that's not going to be a long highlight reel. But yeah, if someone were to cut up anytime he's near the rim, just putting it's never with his left hand. I don't even think he dunks with his left hand. Like, I think he'd rather go up with 2.
And he jumps off his left foot too, which is something that a right-handed player would do.
Correct. He has all of the mechanics of a righty, and then none of the finishing.
Do you think being left-handed is like that big of an advantage anyway? It matters for like guys are used to contesting shots right-handed, so like it does give you a bit of something, but
like
Tennessee,
and when you're
Barnes,
6'10",
yeah, he can get a shot up over anyone anyway. Rick Barnes recruits our team has like 6 left-handed guys on it, and like he seems to think it's like a big deal. I don't necessarily see the correlation, but
I think there's just a general rule about sports is everything is cooler done left-handed.
That is true.
Like Manny Ramirez has about as pure a right-handed swing as I've ever seen. I wouldn't rank it in like the top 100 swings I've ever seen a baseball player take, just because all the other 100 are lefties.
Ken Griffey Jr., best swing ever.
Yeah, the best swings are all left-handed.
I know it.
Yeah, Billy?
I know in hockey, they're starting to teach it differently, that they put your right hand on top of the stick rather than your left hand and your right hand on the bottom of the stick, because if you're righty dominant, you have more control with your stick because it's in your right hand more than if it was in your left. So they've switched up. Like if you're a righty in hockey, it's usually your right hand's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Now they're putting it on the top so that you can, like, when you go one-handed with the stick, you have more control.
Got it. I actually think that as far as sports go, basketball to me seems like it would be one of the least important things of which hand you're using. Baseball, obviously, I think pitching is probably the most impactful, just righty versus lefty.
Like maybe your first shot of the game, somebody's like, oh, I forgot this guy was left-handed.
Right.
And I contest on the wrong side. And then after that, like, it doesn't matter.
Tennis, I think it's probably an advantage to be a lefty in tennis.
Yeah.
I think, in college football, I think lefty quarterbacks always look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
In the pros, they look like witches. They look weird. I don't want a lefty quarterback. It doesn't look.
I mean, Vic being lefty, I think, was huge for his.
I was gonna say, other than him, has there ever been like a really good one?
Was Leinart lefty, or am I just making that up in my brain?
He ain't really good one way or the other.
I think he might be.
Correct.
Lefty quarterbacks you always can sort of remember because you see their numbers throwing to the right of your screen, and that's always a weird flipped image.
Tua is a lefty, right?
Yeah, Tua's lefty.
But the thing is with lefty quarterbacks, some people say that because the ball rotates a different direction, it's harder for the receivers to catch because just people have talked about this, that some reason like their motor skills and like their hand-eye coordination is so used to the ball rotating if you're catching it.
Yeah, it's like Belichick and the left-footed punters.
Yeah, anti-clockwise. And if you catch it clockwise from a left-handed quarterback, it just throws off your whole vibe because you expect it to roll into your hands a certain way.
Bad vibes from this quarterback.
Yeah,
that might be Belichick's like least proven theory. Like it's not like teams are constantly fumbling punts against us. Like it's not a huge advantage.
Yeah, and then every other team saw Belichick do it, so now they're all getting left-footed punters. So now it's probably more common in the NFL. I don't have the stats in front of me at all, but you see a lot more left-footed punters now than you did like 10 years ago, just because everyone's copying Belichick.
This might be a great. I know you're a big punter guy, PFT. This might be a great draft if punters are now running 4.5s like the kid from Georgia. You might need to waste a third on that.
All right, so I've got a theory about that. I think that the yard markers in Indy are closer together.
Interesting.
I think the field is actually a little bit shorter. And if it's just like 1 yard shorter over the course of 40 meters or 40 yards, you're going to see. I've been saying that for years, though, that what certain colleges should do for their pro days is they should have one certain section of the field that is just slightly shorter. The yard markers are just a little bit off so that you can go ahead. I thought Ohio State was doing that for years. And you wouldn't be able to tell if you just looked at it from above that these 40 yards are the ones that are shorter, because it would be like each yard would be 0.95 yards. So it would be tough to see with the naked eye. But when it comes down to timing 40-yard dashes, it would actually make a very big difference.
Somebody tweeted me, I'd forgotten about this, that I got roasted for saying Jordan Davis ran a 4.8 and he actually runs a 4.7. So
yeah, and I got roasted for saying that he's pretty goddamn fast and would be terrifying if he was running after you.
He is fast.
Who roasted you for that?
Arian, he's like, he's not fast. I was like,
I think it might have been you too.
I think Coley, you were involved on the game.
I've been pro Jordan Davis.
Yeah, you have. But when we were talking about
How fast he is?
running,
it was that one
I've
clip.
never called Jordan Davis not terrifying. I know that for a fact.
yeah, we've got to go. I admittedly do not remember what all was said, but we've got to go find it.
I was pulling up the clip of, I think it was Will Levis running away, booting out from, and Jordan Davis was right in his face. That's gotta be terrifying.
I think that might have been when we had Hendon on.
Yeah,
I think it was after
it
was after the Georgia game.
yeah. And they were like, he's not that fast.
So
Okay.
I guess that really brings up a good point. Is you've got punters running like 4.4s, you've got these big men running 4.8, 4.7 40s. How much steroids do you think Georgia's actually doing?
A lot.
Yeah.
No, they're just on Austin, or that
I
was
s-
Clemson.
I saw a great tweet
Austrian.
that was like, the key to having the greatest collegiate defense of all time is just having your nose tackle be 6'6", 350 and run a 4.8. I don't understand why more teams don't do this.
Yeah. I used to think that Don Terry Poe was like the fastest, biggest dude. It's just unreal how much faster these guys are now than they even were like 15,
What
20
did he
years
run?
ago. I think he ran like a 5.02 or something, maybe like a
No,
I thought he was in the high fours.
Was he
I
in the
thought
fours?
whatever
He was a
Jordan Davis did.
4.98.
4.98. Yeah.
now let's just say Jordan Davis gets into the league. He needs to be double teamed every play. Are we going to start saying Jordan Davis is one of the best football players of all time?
Oh my God.
If he plays like Aaron Donald, yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay. So
If
then,
he-
what happens to Aaron Donald?
The biggest question is, how are Jordan Davis's hands? Could he run with a football?
Hold on. Yeah, can he run the Army offense?
I confidently can say that he cannot run the Army offense.
You cannot confidently say that.
Well, because if you look at his 5-cone, I don't think they'll even have him do that, because that much weight moving different directions and turning, that's gonna blow out a knee. I don't care how
I know
much
he
of a
ran
freak
the
of nature.
3-cone and set crate like he
What was his 3-cone?
and Trayvon
I'm looking
Walker
it up
put up
right
Wait,
now.
crazy.
are you saying that scouts aren't going to want Jordan Davis to run like a 3-cone drill because his body would explode? Is that what
in
you're
my
saying?
brain, it's like you cannot have a man that large moving that speed and making those cuts. It's just not physically possible.
You know he's going to be playing in the NFL. He's
I
going to
know,
have to
I know, but
move laterally occasionally.
right. But he's
Just talked about the Will Levis play. Like he had to move laterally to
I
make
know.
that
The
play.
The problem
I know.
is Jordan Davis has become so good at football that his body can't even support his
Just-
own skill.
it just in my mind. I'm like this
was Bo
cannot
Jackson.
happen.
That was Bo Jackson.
This man cannot move like that at that size. It just
He
can't be a
shouldn't.
thing.
I don't
He
know
does.
if this guy, if he's a Pro Football Focus guy. He says, I just expanded the search to all position, and Jordan Davis's 4.8 240 at 341 pounds would be the best weight-adjusted time for any player in our database of 4,600 plus.
And he was light. He was light for the combine.
Hutchinson ran like a 7.4 or something, like slightly faster than Jordan Davis. Like I don't understand how he's like gonna go first. I really don't.
And Hutchinson too. He's like one of these guys who like he isn't. His frame is huge. He's a brick shithouse, but like in his frame, he doesn't have that much mass added onto his frame.
He was walking next to. I agree with Billy. He was
Yeah.
walking next to George Karlaftis out of Purdue. Karlaftis was towering over it. Like made
He's
him like.
probably better than him too.
So
I agree.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with Billy, but I am going to bring up the fact that Billy had the opportunity to say this to Aiden Hutchinson's face at the Super Bowl, and he said none. He was just like,
I'm
"Hello,
just,
Mr.
compared
Hutchinson.
to Jordan,
It's nice to
of
meet
course,
you."
Of course, I mean,
Oh,
I'm
you're
a
gonna be a top 5 pick. That's sick.
I think he's gonna be. I
What's
think
it
he's
like
gonna be
being
better.
so sick at football?
I think he's gonna be but we're talking like I'm saying that he's a freak athlete. Aiden Hutchinson, he's a freak athlete, but Jordan Davis is you can't even compare. You can't. We're comparing Jordan Davis to Aiden Hutchinson right now. So,
I'm not even doing that. That's disrespectful to Jordan Davis.
I know. But the added weight to the frame, it's just something. It's something that I am sort of playing football, trying to add as much mass as you can, and just going to all these football camps, and it's basically a meat market, and they do height, weight, 40 time, and you're just looking at all these stuff as a sophomore, junior in high school, and you're just thinking about this 24/7. Aiden Hutchinson is pretty typical of an amazing football player. Jordan Davis is something out of a lab.
I really don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand why, in basketball, they will draft guys who can't play well at all, but they're you can jump really high and we'll just teach you how to play basketball.
I mean, look at Giannis.
And then in the NFL, there's a guy like Jordan Davis who's the best athlete we've seen in the draft, maybe since Aaron Donald. And they're he's going to go 19. The Clippers drafted Keon Johnson last year from Tennessee, who was not a great basketball player. He got, I don't think he's played at all he got traded. He hasn't played at all. And they're just you're a crazy athlete. We'll try to teach you how to play basketball and hope it works out. And then the NFL, where physicality and athleticism is way more important, they just don't seem to care. It's odd to me.
I think the thing with Jordan Davis is something that Aiden Hutchinson might have over Jordan Davis is that he can play way more downs. You don't have to worry about cycling him out of the game. I mean, Jordan Davis, I actually don't know this, but I think Georgia was cycling out their defensive
all
line.
Of them, yeah, they were so deep. That is the knock. People are saying oh, you don't know if he can play 3 downs, and we don't know. But I would bet even if he can't, there's not 4 downs. There's 3 downs. There's 3 playable downs. If he can only play 70% of them, I think that's okay.
Well, if the offense is marching, it's not more of a down but a drive.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
I get
Those
it.
two also play different positions. It feels important to point out. Pass
Grady
rushers
Jarrett.
are.
Good.
Grady Jarrett, great example of a guy.
But he can't stay on the field if a team's driving too, and he was he's really good. I would want him on my team.
But for example, I don't think Jordan Davis can get off the field with that 4.78 speed every single time. So you're working.
They're gonna get 12 men on the field calls. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that is part of. I mean, I think that is the concern. I don't know that for a fact.
Where you say that you don't think that he's fast enough to be substituted out? He just ran a 4.7.
I'm saying
that's
got to be a concern with Hutchinson too.
No, this is the funniest part. Is people always say, "Why do you make them run the 40 in football for the NFL Combine?" You're never going to find yourself in a situation where you run 40 yards at a dead sprint. This is that exact situation. Yeah. This is the only time in a football game is running to the sideline or from the sideline, and you're saying you don't think that he could do that.
I don't think that he can. I think that over time, his performance in the 40, if we made him run the 40 10 times in a row and then made him run one more 40 to get off the field, I don't think that his times are going to maintain.
Wait. So Billy has discovered that people get tired after they sprint.
I'm saying I think Jordan Davis.
Mind you, he just called him a freak athlete.
He's a freak athlete. He's a freak
now
athlete.
He can't get off the field. He can't get off the field.
I'm just saying, there's when you're carrying, it's an endurance thing. Aiden Hutchinson, he's a motor guy. He can go every play.
But every player has to run off the field after getting gassed. And he's proven that he is among the fastest.
I'm looking up how many plays Aiden Hutchinson played last year. You better hope it's above 95%.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Well, also Billy's talking about this guy being super, super fast and just saying I doubt that he can be that fast.
No, I'm saying Usain Bolt can't run the marathon.
That's true, but we're talking about we're literally comparing apples to other apples.
I'm talking about repetitive. Honestly, I wish Arian was here because I think he'd agree with me.
I'm always curious to know if players get faster after they've been in the league for a while. I think Arian said that he did get faster. Well, he can't be any slower than that fucking 40 time he put up.
Well, I think
he's slower than Jordan Davis.
No, but
we should get. I was just thinking we should get the. How they always love to superimpose Tom Brady. we should have Arian Foster 40 superimposed with Jordan Davis. Davis is blowing him out of the water.
He keeps saying that that's like a BS time.
Well, no, he wasn't going to run the 40. He got talked into it. He had a hamstring issue, I believe, right? Was it a hamstring?
Yeah, but then, at the Senior Bowl when he didn't do good, it was that the guy got the play wrong, and then it's this, that, and the other. There always seems to be an excuse.
Okay, well, I think Arian's a generational
Was Arian
talent.
bad?
No, I'm gonna vouch for Arian. Like, seriously, he's the type of guy you can tell that his problem for lack of performance was due to workload and over stress. Like, basically, I think during that time period, he was talking about he had a lot of overstress injuries because he was hustling. And then once he got to the league, like practice squad player, he got faster because he was able to heal up and able to actually take care of his body and work his body how he wanted to. I feel like that was a big problem during his career, but
it's funny. It's funny that the one podcast that Arian Foster is on is probably also the one that is the most negative towards Arian Foster's career.
I think we should
listen to whenever NFL Throwback like posts a highlight reel of Arian back in his prime, you are reminded just how good he was in football.
Sick.
Crazy.
He was really, really fucking good.
He's one of those guys too, and these are my favorite kind of athletes. When he's running full speed, it looks like he's jogging, and then you'll look at like the corner chasing him, like doing all like trying to move the earth beneath him, trying to run faster, and Arian's just gaining distance. Like he had that kind of like Randy Moss used to do that. Like Usain Bolt never looks like he's running as fast as he can.
You can always tell when like a cornerback is chasing a guy that's faster and their fists start swinging way up in the air, like above their heads. Like if I can just get my arms swinging a little bit harder and higher, I'll be able to chase this guy. Yeah, Usain Bolt's the guy where whenever he runs a 100-yard dash, I'll watch it. I'll be like, man, if he wasn't so lazy at the end of it, he could get like a full second off. But it turns out he's not. He's just going really, really fast, just making it look effortless.
He would sell for a while though. Like he was for a long time breaking his own record by just a little. So the next time he ran, he would also break his record. Like he would do that for a stretch of his prime, which I thought was like maybe the best shit talking in pro sports history.
Yeah, that's genius. And people forget Jeff T. Lowe was at that 100-yard dash final in the Olympics in the stands.
People do forget that.
So, all right, well, Coley, it's good to hear that you're doing well because of your Celtics. Big T is, I don't know if Big T is doing well or not well. I'm trying to get a beat on him based on.
That's the goal.
Yeah, well,
is to not never get too high, never get too low.
I mentioned the gas price thing to you when you sat down, and yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're smiling, laughing about it. I think that you're happy that gas prices.
No, I'm
so
not.
high.
I'm not happy for the rest of America. I think it's a shame.
Bro, I was getting gas. I actually have to tell. This is a crazy story. I was getting gas in New Jersey where you have to have an attendant pump your gas, and this is very alarmist. But I pulled up. I'm like, "Hey man, how are you?" And he was having a conversation with another guy who was pumping gas for it, and he goes, "Yeah, we don't know when we're getting our next shipment of gas." I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, the gas delivery company's just like, we don't know when we're getting gas. We don't know when we can deliver you gas." And that's why, I don't know, it's a scary predicament.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be gas in the gas stations, but in case there's not, I have a solution from RG3. He says gas prices are so expensive, people are going to start taking gas out their stomach to put in their cars.
No, what he replied to that was worse. He was like complimenting himself. He said like, this dad joke went platinum.
I think it went platinum. It got 2,000 retweets. That's platinum, right?
Anyway,
I think you're gonna hit at least
Yeah,
10.
that's not platinum.
Is that's gold?
Maybe silver.
Yeah, that might be wood.
What's for a tweet to go platinum?
I would say gold is 10,000 retweets. Platinum's 25.
I would say, okay, gold should be 10,000 retweets or 50,000 likes.
That's the number I was gonna say. That's fair.
Okay, and
how many likes does that have?
This has only 13.2 likes.
Right.
But it's still a way to address the gas issue. But I could see Big T, like, you kind of light up a little bit when we're talking about how bad gas prices are.
I sat down in the studio like, how about these gas prices? And I chuckled.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny. It sucks.
Who do you, and I mean this sincerely, who do you genuinely blame for the gas prices?
I don't know that I blame anyone necessarily, unless unless you are vehemently opposed to America exploring all options it can to produce its own energy, including things like fracking. If you are unwilling to listen to any sort of argument for that, then I blame you. Other than that, I don't. And
Well,
I
is
mean,
fracking
Putin. I
the
blame
only
Putin.
Is fracking the only alternative?
No. I said America exploring all its options up to and including that.
I mean, we're still buying oil from Russia, and I think we're now not buying oil from Russia because everyone was raising a hoopla about that, and then we started buying more oil from Iran because, from what I've read, Biden isn't issuing the licenses to the oil companies to drill on, and then the banks aren't lending money to the oil companies in order to get the wells going because they think that this administration is going to keep not issuing licenses. It's something around there.
It's the hoopla.
I just know it's fucking
big hoopla.
It's a big hoopla going on.
I'm just knowing that, the past 2 years, we are getting closer to World War III, and gas is, we've had all of the progress since the Cold War gone. We're now about to maybe involved in World War III, and gas is fucking through the roof. Just saying.
I just came up with maybe my best business idea yet. You ready
What?
for this? Almost guaranteed to be a smashing success.
Okay.
Buy a gas station, and then make the prices so fucking high on the gas. I'm talking. What's the national average right now?
Like
Four.
Can we bring that up for. I would make mine like $6.25 per gallon, and then I would just get everybody stopping in to take pictures of how high the gas prices are, so they can post them online. In fact, I bet you that a lot of people would stop to fill up their tank just so that they could take a picture of, look how much my gas costs today.
Yeah.
Thanks, Biden. And then
Well,
post that online.
a lot of the images that go viral are either from Canada, which are it's like their $7 is our like $3 or some shit like that. And then something that happened a lot during the pandemic, there would be new gas stations, and they always set their prices at like $9.99 because they don't want people stopping there because they're not open yet.
Yep.
And so like half the pictures aren't even real. And something I read too, we only get 1% of our oil like prior to this from Russia. I think it's like 30% of our natural gas, something along those lines. So what, like, if we only get 1%, what's the problem?
I don't know. That's above my pay grade. I think there's also a lot that has to do with OPEC and Saudi Arabia.
Well, they're taking a stand and being like, this is the only thing I can sell. Let's squeeze the West.
Well, MBS, the crown prince who's going to become king of Saudi Arabia eventually, there's a really interesting profile on him in the Atlantic. I always want to call it the Athletic when I see it. But
They're the same company. They should merge.
They absolutely should. But
they have the same type of takes.
Not to brag, but I read the entire article, which was very long.
Ooh.
And it was an interview where they got to sit down. He never gives interviews. And the dude is absolutely like a ruthless guy. He disavowed the whole Khashoggi murder thing. He was like, that wasn't me. If that was me, I would have sent my my better team of hitmen, and we never would have gotten caught. That wasn't the most reassuring answer, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit on that. But that's kind of what he implied. And he also said, like, also, I've got way bigger enemies than Khashoggi that I would have much rather have taken out than him. But he gave a lot of detailed answers to some of the questions. But at one point they brought up how America's trying to steer away from Saudi oil if they can. And he was like, I'd like to see them try, pretty much. Like, he knows he's got us by the balls on that one. But yeah, I think the kingdom probably has quite a bit to do with that. So Vince McMahon is the problem.
So I was basically reviewing a lot of literature about this whole Russia situation. And one of the main things is Russia's big bargaining chip is their natural gas and oil supply, petroleum products to, Western Europe and much of Europe. Like basically they have, as I saw someone put it, they have all of Europe sucking off of their teat in regards to oil. That was a famous political scientist who said that. I'm not being horny. He is. Anyway, basically what was happening is all that whole gas line runs through Ukraine, and a lot of efforts in Ukraine have been to up their natural gas and petroleum product production to hopefully then undercut Russia and basically get Russia out of the whole equation and thus depower Russia and all the, sort of advantage they have over the West and NATO due to supplying them gas.
I think that this is my take, not being like a Russia historian or really knowing anything about geology, but that country is just so big. There's got to be a bunch of cool shit that's not discovered yet there.
In Russia?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, the Zarnov freaking bomb. The Zarnev explosion.
Yeah, the Tsar bomb.
Yeah, the Tsar bomb. I think, was that the actual bomb though? Because there was one huge bomb set off, but then there was another explosion that they think was a meteorite.
Yeah, there's been meteorites that hit the ground there. The biggest meteorites ever, actually, I think, that we know about have hit Russia.
We should also, they have one of the greatest, the largest like Great Lakes, like freshwater lakes ever. It's deep as fuck.
Yeah, Lake Baikal, right?
Yeah, it's the only place besides the Great Lakes that has sturgeon, like the American Great Lakes, and like they probably have huge fucking sturgeon.
Yeah.
Sturgeon are goddamn dinosaurs. Have you guys seen sturgeon?
Yeah,
They're bigger than that couch.
I did see a sturgeon in the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee. So I don't know, like you're talking all this about how great Lake Baikal is. I can just go down to Tennessee and see it.
That was a 3-foot sturgeon, which was also sick. They have probably like 60-foot sturgeon.
Yeah. So I ate my hat. I ate my column. I ate crow in Memphis because Billy was talking to the tour guide at the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid about how old sturgeon can get, and Billy was like, they could probably be like 300-400 years old. And I was like, I laughed. I was like, Billy is the king of unverified facts. And then I looked up the lifespan of a sturgeon, the female sturgeon, and how old can they get, Billy? I was immediately proven wrong. Like Billy was right. They can get.
I don't think it was 400. Maybe it's over 100. I know that for a fact. Yeah, they can live up to 100 years old.
I think they can even live longer than that.
I think like the oldest was like 300.
Yeah, so they are dinosaurs. But I'm just saying in general, in Russia, there's probably cool dinosaurs underneath the soil. There's probably all sorts of shit out there that we don't even know about.
Dude, they once found an alligator snapping turtle with shots from the Revolutionary War in its shell. That like
here in the United States.
Yeah, here in the United States. It was either Revolution or Civil War, and they pulled out this gigantic alligator snapper, which you should also Google because they're also dinosaurs. They get as big as, like, I want to say a VW Beetle. I'm definitely lying, but they get huge. But they found, like, shot that's most commonly found in Revolutionary War. Were you trying to steer me off Russia by talking about animals?
No, I wasn't at all.
Was this a psyop?
No, I think it's
we're trying to steer you to Russia. You took it elsewhere.
I think it was cool. I mean, listen, you tried to steer me off my great idea about the gas stations with the super high prices and tension. Plus, some people would drive by the gas station and be like, oh, they've got that good gas, that, like, not diesel, but, like, they've got the chronic equivalent of gas. I want to put that in my car.
You know what's really cool about diesel? There's two types of diesel. There's agricultural diesel, which is the red stuff. That red drink, as they say, that red Gatorade that is cheaper than regular diesel. And then there's regular diesel. And I found this whole TikTok community where it's like a bunch of like truckers who like stick it to the government by buying agricultural off-road diesel for their trucks and be like, no one's going to pull me over and check my diesel.
How many TikTok communities would you say you're a part of, Billy?
As an internet anthropologist, I like to study different communities on the internet because I think that they're actually very unique because they're people with the same like mental thought. Like they're brought together by their thoughts, not like who they are, where they are.
Billy's a big diversity of thought guy.
Yeah, these guys think that they gather because they think the same, and girls too. And they all like, it's very weird that they're brought together by like their thought process, not really like where they are, upbringing, and like I want to see what brings them together. So like you have a lot of like BMXers, truckers, people who like to not steal from the government, but use the red diesel because it's not taxed much.
So how many TikTok communities are you in?
No, I'm not in the communities. I just notice them and sort of take mental note. I don't
TikTok seems to think you're in them.
I don't have a list.
TikTok definitely thinks you're in them. Your algorithm must be so fucked. They don't know where to pull you.
Oh, well, I have to like, basically, you get to the greatest part of TikTok. If you put like, when the dancing girls show up, like all the sort of id, like stuff that tries to get your id going, ID, you just got to press not interested so that
you're rejecting your own id.
Yeah, so it gets all like the stuff that just wants you to consume, even the puppies.
You're trimming the fat.
Yeah,
Trim
but
the fat.
in a way, Bill, you're turning your back on Liver King because like we're going back to our ancestrals.
Yeah.
Like if you're a primal, you should be. If you gave a caveman TikTok and he was like scrolling through, his would be nothing but girls. His algorithm would be like,
girls
look at, oh
puppies.
my God, here's another naked woman. Oh my God, like if you're lucky, you're a Neanderthal and you see maybe like 2 naked women a year if you're like a Casanova. And now you've got this box in your hand that you can scroll through and just see like nothing but 20-year-old chicks in bikinis. Their algorithm would be the horniest thing ever.
I know, but like Primal Anarchists is another group on TikTok, and that's where Liver King lives, and it's a quite interesting place.
You cannot be a primal anarchist online. You cannot.
You can't. Well, Liver King is.
You cannot.
Yeah, my algorithm right now is almost exclusively. I've noticed a big change in it in the last 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And I don't really use TikTok that much, but I scroll through occasionally because the For You pages, they know what they're doing with sending stuff directly into your phone to get you hooked at it. It used to be exclusively giant dogs, just big dogs doing cool stuff. Now it's taken a turn where it's like there's a lot of the Ukrainian stuff on there now.
Yeah.
In fact, there are a lot of like women in the Ukrainian army right now shooting machine guns, even though they can't make the noise with their mouth. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Those are the ones you have to go hit the 3 dots, and then you go, it says share, blah, blah, like, share to this, and then you go not interested, and it gets the horniness out of your feed, and that's where you find the good stuff.
I'm not saying that I'm horny for the Ukrainian freedom fighters. I'm just saying like there are a few of them online that are posting good quality content. But then every time I see one of those, like anything that looks like a battle TikTok, I'm always thinking to myself, like, this is either probably from like the year 2006 in a completely unrelated conflict. It could also just be like something that I could be watching a Russian soldier fire like an RPG, and it hits a building and blows up. And now I'm like, yeah, get him. But it turns out that it's mislabeled as a Ukrainian. I'm actually cheering for the other guy. So yeah, I'm all confused. I'm all turned around right now. What's your TikTok algorithm like, Big T? Let's play a game. Let's play a game.
Pull it out.
Just
Everyone
open it.
pull it
That's
up.
What I was gonna do.
The first thing that comes up, we're gonna judge you based on that.
First one
Billy,
says,
show it to the camera so we can see.
This is a weird one. It's travel hockey dads meeting in the hotel lobby during a tournament.
Okay.
And it's just a bunch of dudes with a bunch of beer and vodka.
Seems like something we'd repost.
I kind of like that for Billy though. It's just like a dudes hanging out.
Yeah.
Big T, what's yours?
Mine is some girl walking into like an office. It says, when you're a retired college athlete and get your first big girl job. And she's like, what? She's wearing sweatpants and then has to change into like business.
All right, so Big T loves big girls.
What? Oh, but then a few more. It's this porn star who's a Man City fan. I'm a fan of hers.
Oh, now I just got this, which is an image of. This is an image of war crimes.
No, I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch the war crime.
War crime talk?
I don't know how I got into this part of TikTok, but because I swipe through whenever it comes up, but the whole like sovereign citizens dealing with the police. Actually, I guess I do watch those videos all the way through, just because they're the most annoying people in the world. Like a guy that'll straight up walk up to a police station and then walk around the entire building, putting his phone up to every license plate, going up to every car, putting his phone inside, like videotaping it. And then the cops come out, they're like, "Hey man, not trying to intrude or anything, just curious what you're doing out here filming all of our cars." And the guy's like, "You need to stand down, sir. I'm on public property." It's like, well, I think it's a pretty reasonable question to be like, what's this guy doing filming my car? But yeah, they keep getting me that stuff. Mad Dog, what's on your page?
My first TikTok is a TikTok live actually of my favorite Orthodox Jewish mom answering my Jewish questions, Melinda.
Do you have rankings of your favorite Jewish moms?
She's number one for sure, but she's Orthodox.
It's never good to have a list.
No, she's pretty much one. She's pretty much the only one, but she is an Orthodox Jewish woman who tells me what she makes for Shabbos every week. And then right after that is something about Andy Samberg.
Got it. Jewish food is really good.
I don't think I've ever had a ton of Jewish, like I don't think I've ever had like a ton of Jewish food.
Matzo ball soup.
I've never had matzo ball soup.
Latkes.
I need to get some matzo ball soup now that I've lived here.
Challah.
Challah bread. I've had that, but I didn't know a Jewish person till college, so now I'm learning.
It's good. Expand your horizons a little
Yeah.
bit. Coley, what's yours?
So I really only use it for two reasons. One, if I am blogging something and the videos originate on TikTok, or two, the only reason I have the app, is when my wife sends me TikToks. So this makes sense because I blogged about it recently. It's Brazilian megastar Anitta, just shaking that ass, which is great. It's a great video.
The fire, the flames coming out of her butt, that adds a nice touch.
Now, what you got to do is go to that button on the bottom right with the
I'm gonna like it.
3 dots.
What if he is interested, Billy?
Well,
I just
then you
liked
don't
it.
get to the good parts of TikTok. You're just on the
This
surface.
is really, it does not get better than this.
When you find like I love when I go to TikTok and I learn something that's extremely applicable in a future probably hypothetical situation.
Yeah, but you know that like 90% of the stuff that you think is you learning something is probably just fake.
No. What have I learned on TikTok? I learned how to drive a Russian tank recently.
Very applicable.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
Avery as well. That would be something if Avery was on one of those like prisoner of war videos where he's like, I thought it was a training exercise.
I had to go. I totally took time off work. I thought I was just going back to just make sure I had dual citizenship.
Yeah. So any other thoughts before we get into the history of Vladimir Putin?
The villain origin story.
The origin story of the guy.
I told you guys this, but Coley, I might have bigger hands than Billy.
No, I have bigger hands than you. I have bigger hands. Okay, we just found out. There's a little hands talk.
Very defensive.
Yes, everyone that's listening right now immediately recognized the tone in Billy's voice where Billy's he's afraid that Mad Dog has bigger hands.
I've always had large hands.
We were measuring our hands. Everyone was measuring their hands in the office on Friday. And we were doing it with the little apple thing where it goes corner to corner. And sneaky.
Sneaky.
Mad Dog's got talents. Like really talents. She's got a very is it a hand span? Is that what they call it? The wingspan of your hand?
Finger span, yeah.
Finger span? My left is 9. My right is 9.5. Billy, I think that Mad Dog might have you beat.
No, I have huge palms.
Billy has big palms. I have long fingers.
So that's more important, I think.
You think?
The finger length.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not the palms.
Bubba has huge hands.
Huge hands.
Was Bubba an athlete?
He played football. I know that for a fact.
Lil Sass, was that a real measurement that Lil Sass had?
No.
It was like 16 inches.
Big T probably's got paws.
Yeah.
You got big palms.
You got paws, bro. He's
Your
got
hands
paws.
are bigger than mine.
Big T has a
No.
thick hand.
No, Big T's got a long hand, middle finger to bottom of the palm, but he doesn't have a wide hand.
Your hand's definitely wider than mine.
He's got a longer hand. That's why I think, like, for example, a guy like Kenny Pickett, who's 8.5 wide, he might have a long middle finger to bottom of the palm.
Is that not what they're measuring, though?
No, they're measuring
thumb to pinky.
The pinky. I mean, I don't know.
They need to measure surface area.
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
hand.
Why
That's
aren't we
what's
using
important.
area? That's what it's about.
It's just like
It's about grip.
I always say in the height measuring, they should measure to your eyes because it doesn't matter what's above your eyes.
Right.
Think about it.
True.
The forehead that's wasted real estate.
I mean, you could say that about shoulders. Like, why eyes?
Well, eyes is about vision.
Yeah, the quarterback, you only measure their height in order to find out how tall can they see over the offensive line. You don't measure it to see like, oh, I wonder where the top of this guy's head is going to be on the field. It's just, I guess it's a combination of can they see over the line and then how high is their release point going to be. So if you're a short quarterback with long arms, you can make up some of that ground.
Oh, this is what I want to talk about. You know what's very interesting to me when we're talking about hands? There's an Olympic shot putter. And if you look at the difference between his left hand and his right hand, he's a gigantic human to start. But his right hand is meatier and bigger than his left hand. And all he does in his sport is he picks up a gigantic cannonball. I mean, I'm simplifying it, and throws it. And I mean, his hand has grown
just from that.
Yeah, this is my favorite part about the human body. How like if you do a repetitive, if your body adapts to the action you're doing, and this guy has formed to be the ultimate shot putter.
Yeah, Yeah, your body grows. It
Yeah.
grows from stress. There was a guy that I played rugby with that was always, I forget if he was a tight head or a loose head prop, but the props are the guys that at the start of the scrum, they're right up front bearing a lot of that contact, but they only bear it on one side of their body, depending on which side of the scrum that you're on. And this guy went in for an MRI or an X-ray, and all the bones on one side of his body had overcalcified, and the bones were actually bigger based on years of just repetitive use in the scrum of hitting another guy.
I mean that's crazy, but like it's like stuff like muscle growth and like that, like calcification, I can understand, but actual limbs growing is insane.
One day we're gonna just rejuvenate our limbs like a lizard.
It's almost like your mind can control how you grow by like what's needed. Like your central nervous system is like, I need to hold big ball, so I'm gonna make my hand like bigger so I can grip big ball and meatier.
How big were Brett Favre's hands?
I feel like they're
Somebody
massive.
Look that up. That would actually explain just why his dick looks so tiny.
True.
Something to keep in mind. All right, well that's good hand talk. You want to get into Putin stuff?
Putin.
You wanna-
So,
Favre was 10 3/8.
Pretty big
Yeah.
hands.
yeah.
Pretty big. And what's Josh Allen? They were giant.
Sneaky there are. So like my friends used to make fun of me in high school. It was like a bad joke, but they used to say I had XYY disease, which was having an extra Y chromosome, and the joke was that because of that, like you have freakishly large limbs, hands, height, and like there's other signs like bad handwriting,
Mm-hmm.
and I had bad handwriting, but the joke was like you like.
For sure it wasn't because you have a clit dick.
Yeah, that was the other joke.
Got it. Yeah, I could tell.
No,
where
no,
you're
no, like
going with
that was implied.
Yeah, not from seeing it.
Not
From seeing it.
but that was the joke. So that could be Brett Favre.
You guys want to hear a really embarrassing story
What?
about my high school football career? So day one, I think it was day one of freshman football practice. I go in. Well, before I go in, I'm like getting ready to go. My dad's like happy that I'm getting out there playing football for the first time, and he like gives me a cup to bring in. He's like, "Here you go. Like, get you all set. Practice. Use your mouth guard. Got you a cup at Sports Authority. Go in."
R.I.P. By the way, what a great store.
Yeah, it was way better than Dick's. I thought
For sure.
better than Modell's. Sports Authority was America's
Modell's,
place.
I went in one of those before. Like those worst store I've ever been in my
Modell's
life.
is more like for fans, not for people who actually like need sports.
Even for
equipment.
that, it was a terrible store.
Not
Yeah,
real
not a good
athletes
store.
like me.
Sports Authority was goated.
It was great. Yeah, it was an awesome place. So I go in first day of practice. I take the cup out of the like plastic container that it's in, open that up, and I look at it, and it's like the smallest cup that I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking. I think my dad got me the cup that was meant for, I don't know, 7-8-year-old, like youth size cup. And I'm not like a big guy at the time, obviously, but I'm probably like, proportionally about the same compared to what I am now to other humans, with like slightly undersized, and very skinny. But like this is clearly a cup that was meant for like a 7 or 8-year-old. And I tried to put it on, and it was just too like it didn't nothing fit inside of it. And so I put it back in the locker. And then at the end of practice, we're getting changed, and somebody comes over to my locker, and we're talking, we're bullshitting, and he grabs my cup. He's like, "Dude, is this your cup?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't use it." And then he shows everybody.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yo, look at PFT's cup. Look how tiny this is." And so I just had to take my dick out.
Were other kids wearing cups playing football?
I think some guys did.
It's gone out of fashion.
It's gone out of fashion.
I don't know.
I never I tried using an actual cup after that, like a normal adult regulation size, and it's just too uncomfortable. So I never wore one.
I don't understand people who can. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't really do anything. Like it doesn't work.
If
The
you're
whole
a
concept doesn't
catcher,
work.
I understand that in baseball.
Sure.
Lacrosse also, there's horror stories like literally getting hit with a shot in lacrosse in that area
Mm-hmm.
is like I've heard like I had a coach who had like one testicle, he lost it 'cause he got hit by a shot.
Yeah, I believe it. But yeah, it's too
I knew-
uncomfortable.
I knew baseball players who would only wear them when they hit, so they would keep it like in their bag on the bench, put it in, and then like as like in between innings they'd take it out again, but never like a full game.
Yeah, a cup doesn't it prevents serious injury a lot, but most of the time it doesn't really. It's just uncomfortable.
You have to wear it during boxing. The boxing ones are different, but those are also. I mean, the thing is, it's more like the shape.
Yeah. So if you're a father out there and you're sending your son in for his first day of football practice, just get him. You're gonna get him a cup. Make sure to go to the adult section and buy him a real one.
Why haven't we
very
innovated in that area for better protection?
What do you think we could do?
I don't know.
I've always
let's
thought
brainstorm.
like chainmail, like the shit they used to wear under like a knight armor. Like it needs to be something like that where it can be basically like a layer of underwear, so it's like over everything. Because just trying to target that area doesn't like now it's just so direct. Like you can just spread it out.
Yeah, Kevlar.
I mean, how would we? But I feel like part of it's even just movement. It's not actually like a direct hit.
Right.
Like it's like people in a car, when the car gets hit, they still like, that's why they made the impact zone. Like all the old cars used to be death machines because they had no crumple zone, but now the new cars have a crumple zone, and like people's heads don't go through the windshield and everything. Like it's more of like the anyway. Like
you want like bubble wrap.
Yeah, just like the movement, the sudden movement. It's like concussions and brains. Anyway, we can move on from testicles.
Okay, no more testicle talk. We've covered hands, eyes, testicles. What's your favorite organ, Billy?
The pituitary gland.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Controls growth.
And just like good chemicals. Take care of your pituitary gland.
The gland and organ?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a gland.
I think it's part of the brain, technically. Brainstem.
Wait, your pituitary glands are part of your brain?
Is it pituitary gland not in your brain?
Do you know where your No. That's your adrenal gland. Your pituitary gland is in this, like, it's the center of your brain. That's why they've been studying a lot of people with traumatic brain injury, and they realize that some of the impacts of traumatic brain injury might be damage to the pituitary gland. So then you start supplementing with different hormones because of that damage.
It's the master gland.
Yeah.
It's my favorite gland.
It controls the activity of almost every other hormone secreting gland.
Rank your top 5 glands, Bill.
But is it an organ, PFT?
No,
it's a gland.
It's part of the endocrine system.
Yeah, I'm going pituitary, hypothalamus, testicles.
3. Wow, that's.
We're doing top 5, right?
Yeah, I mean
going.
that's just
keep going.
Okay.
Gotta go with the heart's not a gland.
It's funny because Billy right now, like most
gallbladder.
Is that a gland or is that? I think that's an organ.
Gallbladder doesn't do shit.
The gallbladder is a gland. I like its hustle.
People have to get that taken out.
It has no hustle. It completely quit in the medieval age.
It quit in the Pelosian era. Pelosian.
Era. I like that.
I'm sorry, paleontologists. They're gonna get pissed at how I pronounce that. And for my 5th gland, I'm going to go with
Gallbladder was a trash pick.
I'm gonna go with
sweat.
No, there's too many of those. I'm gonna go with salivary gland.
Okay.
Because you can do that cool thing where you lift your tongue up and spray people.
The gleek. Yep.
Okay, let's not spray all over the desk.
All right, that's your top 5 glands by Billy Football. I didn't think that he had it in him. But when Billy was like starting to pause, most people out there were like, "Oh, Billy doesn't know 5 glands. We're just bullshitting." No, Billy was actually like running through the long list of glands that he has.
I didn't know which glands to pick.
He didn't even use adrenal, which he had just referenced the previous conversation.
Oh yeah, the adrenal gland, that just causes anxiety. I feel like we.
It's better than the fucking gallbladder, which literally does nothing. You can take it out of you, and it does nothing.
Okay, can I know I can't change my glands, but if I
sure can.
I didn't know if they are glands. Anyway,
what's the one that's in your neck that gets all swollen?
Oh, those are your lymph nodes.
Are those glands?
They're in the lymphatic system. I don't know if they're glands by themselves. You got to get those checked out. Like if you ever chewed tobacco or smoked, definitely get those checked out at almost every checkup, because those is where it all collects.
All right, I like that.
Dr. Billy.
That's good gland. Whose glands is this? I like it, Billy. Let's get to Russia.
Putin.
Pooty Poot. You remember that? Like George W. Bush? You remember when George W. Bush met Putin for the first time? And he goes, I looked in the man's eyes and I could tell he's a good guy. And then he started calling him Pooty Poot.
Well, it was a chameleon. That's why everybody, I mean, honestly.
Former KGB guy. Yeah, we can get into that. But before we get into it, now I've got myself going on like a little sidetrack here. But maybe my favorite Wikipedia page is the list of nicknames that George W. Bush gave to people. So he was a big nickname guy, which I like. I think that if you're in a position where you're running something like a CEO type thing or a president, you need to like be able to remember who people are. And remembering names is tough. So he used to just give everybody nicknames. And Pooty Poot, he had 2 nicknames for Putin. Pooty Poot was one, and then Ostrich Legs was the other. He would call Tony Blair Landslide. He would call...
is there a story behind that?
I don't know. Silvio Berlusconi, he was the prime minister of Italy. Bush's nickname for him was Shoes, because he would wear fun shoes. So he called him Shoes sometimes. I think it was the Secretary of Agriculture, or no, the Arbor, the head arborist for the United States. He just called him Tree Man. Barney,
useful.
Yep. Barney Frank was Sabretooth. Barbara Boxer was Ali, because Muhammad Ali. I thought that was a good one too. John McCain was Hogan. He called him Hogan. I like that.
Hogan Zeros, yeah.
There's so many good ones. There was a congressman from New York named John Sweeney. His nickname was Congressman Kickass.
Huh?
Just great.
That's got to get you reelected a couple times if you're a Congressman Kickass.
I need to start making more nicknames. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah. No, you really do. Let's see if I can.
What you're talking about now, PFT, this was pivotal to everyone who had a George Bush impersonation back in the early 2000s. Like, you had to reference people like, this is my good friend Colin Powell, but I call him, like, that was every George Bush impressionist. Like, that's how you knew you were doing a Bush.
Yep, that's true. The head physician of the president, you guys remember Ronnie Jackson? Ronnie, I think he was also the head physician for Trump. I don't know if he's still around, but he served Trump, Obama.
Trump's got his own guy.
W. Bush. His name is Ronnie Jackson, and W called him Scrote. I'm assuming because Ronnie Jackson would check his scrotum every time they saw each other. So he called him Scrote. There was a guy named Richard Armitage, and he was the deputy secretary of state. He was a big dude. Called him Tiny. That's just like guy stuff, like call the biggest guy Tiny. That's funny always. And then, so it was a Forest Service official, and George Bush called him just Tree Man.
I like that.
Who's the defensive lineman from Alabama? Tiny Richardson. And he was like 6'8", 360.
That's always funny.
Always
to,
plays.
to flip it up on somebody. There was a guy named
I love Too Tall. I always love that nickname.
Yeah, Too Tall is good. There was a guy named George Miller, who was a politician from California. He was a small guy, and you know what W called him?
Big guy.
Big George.
This is what happens when you have a baseball owner just be the president. Like, he just takes the fun parts of baseball over to very serious conversations.
By the way, Tiny Richardson went to Tennessee. I don't know why I said Alabama.
Yeah, wow.
Just clearing that.
Many people are saying this is another tally mark we could put on the Big
Did
T's a fake fan.
Did Alabama have a Tiny?
I don't know if they had a Tiny or not. But yeah, you're right. It's like George W. Bush, and I've said this for years, he should have been commissioner of baseball.
Still should.
That's his dream job. We should have been like, yes, please, George W. Bush, take over for Bud Selig, be commissioner of baseball. There would be no lockout right now. Bush would have figured out a way to work it out. Like, he would be so good at that job, something that he cares deeply about, that his personality works well with. Instead, we elected him president, and he started war in Iraq.
Big T, you're thinking of Seth Small.
No.
On Alabama.
I think I was thinking of Tiny Richardson. I just don't know why I said Alabama.
I honestly think Roger Goodell would have been a better politician.
Well, he is basically he's just a senator.
Yeah.
His dad was a senator. All he does is just like exist and not say anything controversial.
Mm.
and he's just going to stick around for a while. I do need to figure out why they called Tony Blair landslide, because that's
Did he win in a landslide?
good point. Maybe.
That's what I thought of.
Oh, this is my favorite, by the way. Karl Rove. You know what he called Karl Rove? This is like a commonly known one for him. Karl Rove was his like best advisor, big time strategist, got him elected in the first place.
Range Rover.
Called him Turd Blossom.
Love that.
Donald Rumsfeld, I call him Rummy.
Rummy, yeah, Rummy. Israel Hernandez, the special assistant. He was the bag man, essentially, like Gary in Veep. Just called him Altoid Boy. Just great stuff all around. W. Now he's paying.
If it weren't for the war crimes, what a guy.
Yeah, probably a great hang.
But has to be the best hang of any president. Has to be.
Do you think? Let's talk about war crimes. Do you think he was like? I think the war crimes were probably sold to him by people in his cabinet, and he didn't really know what it meant.
Yeah, he's the Nick Saban saying, I have never paid a player. Sure, he hasn't.
Exactly.
But he has guys who have.
Well, if you want to go back at the history, like invading Iraq could be considered to be a war crime.
Yeah, 100%. I think George W. was 100% a puppet type guy.
Well, Cheney had his ear, but also
I put that on Cheney.
Also, W wanted to kill Saddam because Saddam tried to kill his dad, which that's fair.
Fair.
That's absolutely
Maybe
fair.
the most fair reason we've had in many years for trying to kill someone.
That's Cam Brady in the campaign. You get my son to call you daddy, I fuck your wife.
I mean,
Try to kill my dad, I kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about similar circumstances. Cain Velasquez. Did you hear about that?
Yep.
Full story is not completely out yet.
Yeah, we don't know. So I'm waiting for all the facts to come out on that one.
I don't care. What I do is
All right,
Anyway.
so let's get to Pooty Poot as our 43rd president
So-
referred to him.
Putin. Putin is today's number one. Everyone hates that guy. I don't think you could find one person outside of Russia who, at this current moment, is like, that guy's doing pretty awesome.
Yeah, who's got a lower? Was it the Q score?
Yeah,
Who's got the lower Q score right now? Bill Cosby.
yeah.
Q score is just if people know you, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it factors in if you're liked or hated.
Definitely hated guy.
So is there anybody else out there that's more hated?
Yeah. Anyway, we live in a society where we try to look and try to figure out why do evil people do evil things, and that takes us to their childhood most times.
All right.
And here we are. We're going to delve into the villain origin story of Vladimir Putin.
Here's the name for today's podcast, Mad Dog. You ready for it? Call her Vladdy.
God damn it.
You've had that in the chamber since last week.
No, I think I said that. I think I might have said that on part of my take just when we were talking about
You said it at some point. I
Vlad
remember
Putin.
hearing
Yeah,
it.
this is my
Call
second
her
time
Vladdy.
saying it out loud, but I think this is where we use it for the name of the podcast.
Okay, then can
We
we
get Putin and Trump looking like Sophia and Alex, like on the cover.
Oh, I like that. That's good. Or Biden. Biden with some tits.
No, do the Belarusian do the Belarusian prime minister.
I'll bet you Biden could give a solid gluck with those dentures. Just pop them out.
I don't want to know who. Never mind.
All right, so
Anyway, Putin. So, what makes him tick? He's currently an irrational actor on the world scale. What makes irrational actors? I once, wrote about how was Saddam an irrational actor? Was he the person that he was painted to be? When we invaded Iraq, was he, a person with weapons of mass destruction who would use them, without discrimination to get what he wants? Is Putin an irrational actor? So, in doing this is a common.
you're bearing the lead here. Was Saddam Hussein an irrational actor?
I actually argued in my paper he wasn't Iraq.
So when he gassed the Kurds, he did that because he thought they were a threat to him.
Right, which is rational thinking. I know it's not the best thing to do, but it's rational thinking.
I'm gonna also say it's a bad thing to do.
Oh, bad. I mean,
I'll one up you on that
100%
one.
bad.
But there's a different. What I'm getting at is there's a difference between being rational
yeah,
and then doing something that is the correct thing to do.
right. Like irrational.
It has nothing to do
is-
with morality.
Yeah, irrational is like stuff without motive, just irrational. There's no real correct thought. So
Like
anyway-
you are irrational. Jake is rational.
No, actually, you could argue that I am like basically like someone, a crazy person doing random acts without any rhyme or reason.
Got it. Okay,
My
so
id at least is involved.
got it. So it goes back. We're trying to figure out if Putin is irrational or not.
So we have to go back and look at his childhood to see his worldview, to see the world he grew up in. All of us in the West, we had a much different past 100 years. And that takes us to Stalingrad. Actually, Leningrad.
That's
And-
right. Leningrad, Russia. So he was born in 1952.
He was born in 1952 in what is now St. Petersburg. Now, it was rife with hardship. The post-war for Russia was not the boom that we saw in the U.S. I mean, much of the reconstruction of Europe was beneficial, but Russia, we didn't get to see much behind the, Iron Curtain going into post-World War II.
Besides their shitty architecture,
Right.
bad architecture town.
Basically, all the architecture in post-World War II, because they were so beaten down, was everything, all resources were expended for functionality. So there was zero, artistic, nothing secular really blossomed in the Soviet Union this time because of all the resources devoted to just housing and feeding people. Now, let me talk to you guys about what happened exactly in Leningrad during World War II. Now, Putin grew up around a people who were extremely, if you look at Russia post-World War II, they lost more casualties, they had more deaths, civilian and military, than any other country that involved in the war. And I actually would argue to say that their casualties might have been higher than all the other Axis and allies combined. Probably going to have to correct me on that, but there's some stats to back it up. Putin was born on the 7th of October in 1952. It was currently under the Soviet Union, and Leningrad, where he grew up, was the site of what people say is the deadliest, worst siege in human history. For 2.5 years, German, Finnish, and Spanish volunteer forces, as well as Italians, surrounded the city of Leningrad and caused the greatest destruction and the largest loss of life ever known in a modern city. On Hitler's direct orders, the Wehrmacht looted and then destroyed most of the imperial palaces, such as Catherine's Palace, Petrov Palace, Ropsha, I'm butchering all of these, I'm sorry, Strelna, Gachina, and other historic landmarks located outside the city's defensive perimeters. Current-day St. Petersburg was once the capital of Russia on many occasions, depending on who the Tsar was, but historically it was one of the largest cities in Russia and had much significance. Basically, what happened is all these Axis troops cut off the city of Leningrad and caused what many historians today say they classify it as a genocide. They starved the people in the city, causing great loss of life, and went after the city for over 900 days of constant warfare.
Yeah.
The diary of Tanya Savisheva, a girl of 11, her notes about starvation, deaths of her sister, then grandmother, then brother, then uncle, then another uncle, then mother. The last 3 notes say Savishev's died. Everyone died, and only Tanya is left. She died of progressive dystrophy shortly after the siege. Her diary was used by the prosecution at the Nuremberg trial. The siege of Leningrad ranks as the most lethal siege in world history, and some historians speak of the siege operations in terms of genocides as a racially motivated starvation policy that became an integral part of the unprecedented German war of extermination against populations of the Soviet Union generally. Being from the West, we don't tend to hear about how brutal the Eastern Front was in the atrocities committed on the Eastern Front. The mass killings, stuff that we can't even imagine. I mean, today. It was so bad, the starvation in the city was so bad that the NKVD, which I think was whatever authority that in the area, had to divide criminals, specifically cannibals, into 2 categories. People who ate corpses and people who killed people to eat their body. The lack of food and famine was so bad that they had to distinguish criminally against people who ate already dead people and people who killed people to eat people.
So it's saying like it's not a crime if they're already dead.
If they were already dead, they received lesser sentences.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
At a time like that, yeah, no, it was a bloody siege, it was a bloody battle. The entire Eastern Front was all fucked up. Georgy Zhukov, I think I'm pronouncing that right, was the guy that was running the show and organized the defense of that city. Is largely credited with defeating the Nazis in that like long-term battle, even though tons of people died. I think their rules were like the soldiers had a not one step backward policy,
right?
Meaning if you were fighting against the Germans, you were not allowed to even move backwards and retreat, or you'd be shot. It was like, we're just going to go forward and we're going to try to fuck them up as much as possible. If you have a chance, actually pull up. There's a YouTube clip of Zhukov when he returns. I think it's when he returns to St. Petersburg after the war's over, and they're doing like a big celebration parade. And this is a dude. If you've ever seen The Death of Stalin, that movie, which you should probably watch. It's funny. It's interesting. He's the military guy that's got the chest that's just weighed down with medals because he's as close to a rock star as you can get in that era of Russia. But during the parade where they're celebrating his army's victory, he takes this horse out there and he essentially has this horse crip walk like in front of the entire all the Russian government and thousands and thousands of people in the streets. He's just on this horse, and this horse is just like doing whatever he wants, essentially doing like a dance routine for him. It's pretty badass to be like, okay, not only did I defeat the Nazis, but also this horse respects me so much that he will tap dance while I'm on its back.
So when it came to why the Nazis went so hard for the city is that at the time Germany was struggling. Before the siege started, they were doing decent, but by the end of the siege, they realized that they could not take such a large urban area and support it. So about halfway through, they decided we have to kill all these people or we're not going to be able to hold the city. And Hitler had some crazy vision for that city to be a part of the Eastern German territory that they're basically going to merge with the Finnish. Now, the Finnish have kind of gotten away with their role in all of this in post-World War II Russia because they became friends after the war, crazily. But there was some, it's kind of crazy that no one thinks of Finnish people to have been responsible to have a hand in basically one of the worst, city sieges ever. But on the ground for those 2 years, it was between negative 30 degrees. Like, it was disgusting. I mean, if you think about being in the freezing cold, starving, everyone was given 125 grams of bread per day, which was usually 50 to 60% consisted of sawdust, and had people killing each other not only to eat, but to steal ration cards to, eat this sawdust bread. You can tell that these were a people who over 900 days probably, had some of the worst experiences of all time. And on the 9th of August, 1942, the day that Hitler had planned to have a victory party in the Audubon Hotel in Leningrad, the Astoria Hotel in Leningrad, they blasted across the whole city and especially towards the Nazi forces Symphony No. 7 Leningrad by Dmitri Shostakovich. And it was performed by the Leningrad Radio Orchestra. It was supposedly basically to be like, hey, Hitler, we're still surviving. You can't take us out. And it was one of the greatest...
Ruined his party.
Right, ruined his party. Not only was it, it was the deadliest siege of a city in human history, but it was one of the greatest examples of human, I can't even describe, heroics, withstandings, longevity. How would you describe what the survival? Historian Michael Walter summarized that the siege of Leningrad killed more civilians than the bombing of Hamburg, Dresden, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki combined. The U.S. Military Academy evaluated that Russian casualties during the siege were bigger than combined American and British casualties during the entire war. Several years after World War II, in the late 1940s, early 1950s, Stalin's supposed jealousy of Leningrad city leaders because they had become such gods in the vision of the Russian people for holding out in the city and taking on the bulk of the German Eastern Front was so heroic, and everyone saw them as such like examples of Russian strength and endurance throughout World War II, that he actually had a pre-war surge that was sort of going after much of these leaders who lasted throughout that whole siege.
How many articles do you think have been written 3 years ago, 4 years ago, comparing King's Landing to Stalingrad? I bet that was a big one.
I was
Game of Thrones
I was
popping.
gonna say, when he said the biggest siege in human history, I was like, well, not
Yeah.
if you count fake ones.
Yeah, that's true. No dragons. Hitler didn't have the dragons. He did have methed out soldiers, though. Another reason why they lost is because their supply lines for meth got cut off.
I would argue that there's definitely somewhere like the White Walkers were based off of methed up Nazi soldiers. Just like think about it, like they're, because at that time Germany was also sending basically when German morale really started to drop was when they asked civilians to start sending all their extra clothes to the Eastern Front. So you had German soldiers wearing like, petticoats and like women's wear because they didn't have enough coats for the winter. And feel like that gives off a zombie like vibe.
Yeah.
Especially in the
Just
cold.
don't invade Russia in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Mental note.
So anyway, Putin was one of the only ones of his siblings to survive. Some of his older siblings had died in Leningrad.
But he was born afterwards.
He was born afterwards. He did not witness this, but he grew up in a family that had been quite affected by the siege of Leningrad. So I don't all the events your parents experienced growing up in their conscience definitely has an impact on the children they have. So, I can't even think of something besides 9/11.
Yeah, probably a pretty fucked up family to grow up in if you've seen all that stuff and you've been through all that to survive.
Putin's father was one of the personal chefs for, I think, both Stalin and the next president afterwards.
Was it Lenin and Stalin?
I think.
Yeah, I thought it was his grandfather.
Sorry.
Either way.
His grandfather or his father. Talk about a high-pressure job.
Yeah, his grandfather, Spiridon Putin, was a personal cook to Vladimir Lenin and Joseph
Like, you
Stalin.
screw up the borscht, and you're just going to live in Siberia for the rest of your life. Also, everyone just, like, all your food's getting tasted before he eats it. That's got to get old as a chef after a while. It's like, I've been cooking for you for 15 years. You think I'm going to poison you this meal?
Russia also isn't like the peak of international cuisine. Like, can you screw up that badly? It's like, another bland meal for the czar. Like, I'm sure it's easy.
You're going to have the Russian food stands coming at you now, Coley. I think Russia's one of those countries where everything is just designed. It's kind of like Buffalo in a way, where everything that you put in your body is just designed to keep you warm. So,
right, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Like stews. Porridges, yeah. Probably like a lot of dumplings that are filled with unseasoned food, but it's still hot.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, his grandfather was the personal cook to Lenin and Stalin, and so Putin was like the baby of his family. So his birth was preceded by the deaths of his two brothers, Victor and Albert, who were born in the mid-1930s. Albert died in infancy, and Victor died of diphtheria during the siege of Leningrad. Putin's mother was a factory worker, and his father was a conscript in the Soviet Navy, serving in the submarine fleet in the early 1930s. Early in World War II, his father served in the destruction battalion of the NKVD. Later, he was transferred to the regular army and was severely wounded in 1942. Putin's maternal grandmother was killed by the German occupiers of the Tver region, and his maternal uncles disappeared in the Eastern Front during World War II. So this guy's family had basically had the brunt of an invasion. An invading force was still very much extremely prevalent in his family's mind. And because of that, you could see it shaping his entire worldview. Russia...
Well, it's going back to what we said about W, which is like this guy tried to kill my dad. Putin is like the Nazis slaughtered all my family and all my family's friends.
And also they had a great standing in Leningrad before the war. They were considered well off and had a great apartment, I think, a very nice house. And then after the war, they ended up moving out to the countryside and lived in Soviet housing and very much more lower class neighborhood. So there was that element of his parents probably fighting, like, we've come a ways down. Like,
You made my dad poor.
Yeah. So you could see that Putin, it wasn't easy for Putin growing up. And I'm not trying to be sympathetic
No,
to Putin, but I think, just try to paint a picture.
I think what's realistic to say, though, as somebody with a very limited knowledge of European history, but it's fair to say that in the era that he grew up in, which is the start of the Cold War, everything that the Soviets were doing at that time was designed to like keep their borders like as far west as possible, to insulate their bigger towns like their Moscows or St. Petersburgs, and they had just come off like such a huge loss that they are probably in the mode where they say to themselves, we're going to act out, we're going to be very aggressive, because anything is better than going through what just happened to us in the late 30s, early 40s.
I would argue because Putin was one of the later born of his brothers and sisters, being the baby and having brothers who actually fought in World War II, people in his stature, like, for example, what I'm trying to say is the conscience of Russia being invaded is very much on Putin's mind. He had a brother who died protecting Russia. That, I don't think, is in the conscience of many Russians today or much of the world. Like post-World War II Europe was almost, the Europeans started getting American products. There's a idea of consumerism, and the 1950s post-war boom of America would happen a little in Europe, not to the same degree, but everyone in Europe after on the western side of the Iron Curtain enjoyed a lot of splendors of post-war peace.
He was probably also like Billy in a way, where Billy is like, man, I would trade it all to go overseas and be able to fight, serve my country, be a Navy SEAL. Putin probably grew up around a lot of like former vets, people that had fought, and Putin probably grew up being like, man, I'm the only guy here that hasn't done anything.
There's a good chance that Putin knew people who had eaten people.
Yeah.
And killed people to eat people.
Also, we should probably get into this now before somebody else brings it up. But Putin's height, I think, is also
right.
It contributes to his evil villain origin story.
He definitely has an insecurity.
How tall do you think Putin is?
Putin, I think, is 5'4".
No, he's got to be taller than 5'4", right?
I looked it up earlier, so if it's accurate, what I looked up.
What is it?
I think it said 5'7".
5'7".
5'7".
Yep. Okay, I agree. If you're under 5'9", you should not rule a country. You just shouldn't.
History has dictated that's probably a good idea.
And I can say that as I'm almost 5'9", 5'8.5". I'm taking myself, for the good of humanity, I'm taking myself out of the running to ever be president of the United States.
Big of you.
How tall is Zelensky?
I think he's taller than that.
Got to be.
Zelensky.
He looks like a decent size dude.
What was the H-man? 5'8"?
Was he that tiny?
Napoleon was pretty short too.
Zelensky's 5'7".
What? No. I don't believe that.
He's got a big head.
Hitler was 5'9", this says.
I don't think so. I think that was a Boots.
Mussolini was 5'7".
Yeah. Listen, we can't listen. Okay, I'll round it up then. 5'9" or below, you should not be allowed to lead a country. We've demonstrated.
I'll be honest. 6 feet or below. Like, I don't want any 5'11" people lie. They always say they're 6 feet, so they're out.
They do grow.
If you're not above 6 feet, you shouldn't be telling anyone to do anything.
That's true. And a woman should judge how tall you are because they know.
Correct.
Women know. Mad Dog, is that accurate?
That's so true.
You know when a guy's 6 feet tall?
I know when a guy's 6 feet tall, and I know when a guy's, like, if you're on a dating app and you say you're 5'11", or if you say you're 6 foot, I know you're 5'11".
Yep.
So she goes 6'1".
You should just not lie.
Yeah, good point.
But then
you're not lie or say 6'1". It's one of those things that you shouldn't get a fake. It's like getting a fake ID that says you're 21. Like that, there's not that many 20. You should get a 22 or a 23-year-old.
Yeah, but imagine if like you meet a guy on a dating app and he's actually like 5'10", 5'11", and then he says on the dating app he's 6'1". That's such a fucking bummer when you meet someone.
Can you really tell?
Yes, because think about someone. Okay. Think about someone in this
really
office.
heightest of you.
Yeah, it is.
It's a real fucking bummer to have to encounter someone that's under 6 feet.
I'm not saying that
I agree.
I'm not against. I'm not against people who are under 6 feet. I'm just saying you're
anti-liar.
Yeah, I'm anti-liar.
Because
I'm pro-truth.
If they lie about their height, what
else are they lying about?
They could lie about where they were last night.
Coley, I have a question for you. Can you tell what height people are? Because I have no idea. I have no idea.
Clue.
You could tell me you're 5'5" or 6'2", and I would believe you. I can't tell.
I can tell if they're taller or shorter than me.
Yeah.
Yes, I can also discern that.
I think Putin is a guy that just looking at that guy's short. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think some guys that are 5'9" can carry it better than others, and it's just like that's a regular person.
Well,
you look at Putin and you're like, that motherfucker is short.
He has a short guy complex.
Yes, exactly. Which is why we should not be trusted to run a country ever, because going into adding to all the stuff that his family dealt with growing up that Billy's addressed.
You know what you just did that's a little tiny bit problematic.
What?
I mean, you've just excluded, I'd say, probably 90% of women.
I was gonna say that.
Maybe
no, it's different. Okay, that's a fair point.
This is a male.
No, you don't. You don't get to change it now.
No, it's a fair point, because it doesn't carry over to women. I think women have a different sliding scale.
I'm gonna be honest.
I actually think that a really short woman, she should be president.
She gets shit done.
Yeah, she
a 4'11" woman
spark
gets
plug.
shit
If you're 5 feet tall as a female and you elevate yourself to a point where you're being in consideration to run for president, you're probably a girl boss.
Tough as nails.
Total girl boss.
Would Hillary Clinton would have won the presidential candidacy if she was 5 foot?
She wouldn't have won the presidency if she was
anyway
anything.
What if she was 8 feet tall? Would you have voted for Hillary Clinton if she was 8 feet tall and had barbed wire tattoos?
Honestly,
you would have said, like,
I think
I don't care about her emails anymore. This
That's
bitch
Fetterman.
choked me out.
You're talking about Fetterman now.
Yeah, I am. All right, sorry for my little diatribe there, but
what I was going to say,
we need to address that about short people.
Unless you're currently in the NFL Combine, if you know your quarter inch, like if you know you're like 5'11" and 3/8, you don't get to
That's
I don't
a good
trust
call.
those people. I don't trust those people at all.
What about 5'8.5"? What would you say about somebody like that?
Yeah, don't trust it, PFT.
Okay.
I don't trust you.
All right, that's fair. All right, so Putin's a tiny little buddy.
So
his family's dead. Got it.
So Putin was probably the only person in the house, at that time. He was
no friends.
No, I mean, I don't think you were allowed to make friends in Soviet Russia.
That's true.
I think the national conscience was because so many people died during World War II. You didn't want to make any type of social connection with anybody except vodka, because vodka would never leave you.
What do you think the ratio was like for Putin growing up? Because they had just lost a lot of guys in World War II. You think Putin was just swimming in it?
I'm just gonna say, if you look at the ratio of Eastern Europe, and I think this is backed by science, because there's been so many wars between the Mongols, the Russians, the Romans, Alexander the Great, World Wars, Ottoman Empire. There's been a lot of instances where armies come in and just kill all the men. So you got to think natural selection. If you had genes to produce more women, like you have 3 daughters, 4 daughters, you have no sons that die, your genes get passed on. Over time, you're going to have a population with way more women than men.
So Russia's the move for anybody out there. If you're looking to spend a semester abroad, maybe not now. Maybe let's wait till things play out. But you're saying the ratio is probably sweet.
Why the former USSR has far fewer men than women. Okay, so science backs me up.
Thank you, science.
Oh yeah, science.
So anyway,
so this kind of goes. So Putin is a 5'7" guy out there fucking like he's 6'4". Probably gets the little man complex becomes almost a god complex at that point.
He's got a frat party with the perfect ratio.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want anyone to come in.
Yeah, exactly. So he sees Ukraine. He's like, hey, man, who do you know here? Too many heads. Sorry.
That should be less of a reason to try and bring them back into the fold.
Well, Ukraine also has a perfect ratio, too.
Well, because, so Ukraine was part of the USSR back then.
So anyway, there's always been a lot, and you can look at this, there's papers on this about how after much of the USSR was held together by Russian patriotism more than communism. Communism was, their system of government, but the real reason they sort of complied and went with everything was for Mother Russia, the motherland that they fought, which Putin switched to fatherland, which is weird. It was always Mother Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Like you always hear in the old news. Yeah, Mother Russia.
I don't know. Is that a real thing? Or
Yeah,
is
it's Mother Russia.
Careful, you're getting down a Commander Dale Brown path there with the accents.
I think I'm allowed to make fun of Slavic accents.
That's how it starts,
fine.
but then it just slips into the whole thing against the Baltic states, and next thing you know, you're
if
doing
I
other...
can't make fun of different European accents,
only Italians.
that's like what my grandfather
that was
went
the law.
over. That's what my grandfather brought back from World War II was funny accents of different like European people. So I think we earned that one.
I live with my mother. She's a
There have been
Really
some
nice.
unbelievable tweets, especially during COVID times, about just sunning Italy, and they were Super Mario accent, just incredible,
Yes,
absolutely incredible.
All right, so hey, can
Big
we,
to the eastern front.
yeah, real quick, can we get in touch with somebody to make a Photoshop or for the color of Vladdy? Because I'm just thinking about like
I can get
I want Putin and Biden looking like Alex and Sophia.
So
That's
you want-
the artwork?
Do you want Biden to be Alex or Sophia?
I don't care.
I think
Okay, so it doesn't matter who's on who. Yeah, I can get someone to do that.
Putin gives me Sophia vibes.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I was just
I was
gonna
gonna
say
say-
Biden gives me Alex vibes. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Girl
for
boss.
continuity's sake, with our country and company, Biden should probably be Alex.
Yes. Agreed.
Mhm.
Agreed.
yeah,
They
I can make that
They probably
happen.
won't like
Okay.
that. But it's just funny with the name. Okay, so young Vladimir was very good at judo.
All right, keep it going.
Young Vladimir.
Brew from Despicable Me.
No, young Vladimir used to go to school, and at school they teach him judo. And his judo coach come to his mother one day and says, young Vladimir is very good at judo. He's going to be top judo. And his mother goes, okay,
You should. Okay,
Vladimir,
I'm
you go fight.
gonna put a stop to the voice. Just when you're talking as Putin, you can do the voice, but when you're just narrating it as Billy,
This is not Billy.
no, it's not. So
It's
so
Billy.
so as a young child, he is a judo guy.
Yeah, he's really good at judo. His mother's like, oh, you go to your fights. And, young Vladimir's like, no, Mom, like, this is good. I love judo. It's like something I'm good at. Because young Vladimir was not very good at school because he didn't care for it too much. He said, I was always late for my first class, so even in winter I didn't have time to dress properly. So strong Vladimir used to run to school with no coat and probably no shirt, just like he rides horses.
Mm-hmm.
So young Vladimir, his mother hated his passion for judo until his judo coach came to his mother and said, he's very good at judo. Like he should be, you should commit more to judo and you should really understand that what he's doing is really for the good of the nation. It's like he's a good young Russian. And anyway, he joined all the little youth communist groups and stuff, and he was, a very good citizen, and he was very involved. Honestly, this is all from his own autobiography. So we don't know how true this is. So
You can still buy that. I would read Putin's autobiography.
from 1st and 8th grade, Vladimir Putin studied at school number 193. As he recalls, he was a troublemaker, not a pioneer. His teacher, Vera Gorovech, recalls, in the 5th grade, he still hadn't found himself yet, but I could feel the potential, the energy, and the characters in him.
Can you imagine, like, Vladimir Putin, you get a call, you're a teacher somewhere in small town Russia, you get a call like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and it's Putin on the other end, and he's like, hey, I was your student, I'd like to get a quote for you for my autobiography. Can you imagine, like, the thought, you're going to be like, yeah, he was, he had the most potential of anybody that I've ever seen. Natural leader.
Also, he's probably like, call me trouble, Mick.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like,
Make them think
That rascal Putin.
yeah, this sounds like exactly
Irrational
something
actor.
he would want. Is like, okay, he was a little bit crazy, but he was so cool, and all the women liked him.
rascal.
He Putin in his brain was just Bart Simpson as a teen.
Yeah.
Like he had a skateboard and a slingshot, and everyone
Yeah.
would tussle his hair and be like, "Ah, you rascal."
I saw that he had a great deal of interest in language. He picked it up easily. He had a very good memory and an agile mind. I thought something good will come of this boy, so I decided to give him more attention to distract him from the boys on the street. So we have a judo master who's being, picked from the village as like, their pride and joy. Until the 6th grade, Vladimir Putin was not very interested in studying, but his teacher, Vera Gorovech, saw that he could do better and get higher grades. She met with his father, asking him to influence his son. It did not help much, but Vladimir Putin himself radically changed his attitude towards his studies when he was in 6th grade. Mr. Putin notes, other priorities were emerging. I was asserting myself through sports, achieving something. There were new goals too, no doubt. This had an enormous effect. Potential, energy, character. In the 6th grade, Vladimir Putin decided that he needed to achieve something in life, so he began getting good grades, which came easily to him. He was allowed to join the Young Pioneers organization and almost immediately became the head of a pioneer detachment in his class. So this is starting to sound like some Kim Jong-un,
or like Boy Scouts.
Yeah, but like they're trying to paint him as like he was the greatest Russian ever. But I have a feeling that, it was a little different than that.
Do you guys know any Eagle Scouts?
Yes.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Eagle Scouts, Billy?
Honestly, they have a lot of good knowledge. I myself I had a book that I used to read about what Eagle Scouts would learn, but I would never actually join the Eagle Scouts.
So you're stealing
Billy,
valor.
Self-taught Eagle Scout.
Yeah, he's stealing valor from Eagle Scouts now.
Yes.
So I basically knew everything that Eagle Scouts know, but I just didn't go to the
Exactly.
meetings. But I was pretty much an Eagle Scout.
Basically.
I think Eagle Scout is mostly like if you just stick around in Boy Scouts for a long enough time and your parents drive you to places to have you do chores.
It's kind of like you never got into sports, so you had this much time to achieve Eagle Scout status.
Do you think if you join the military and you're an Eagle Scout, do you get like
higher rank?
Higher rank, preferable treatment, like a better gig?
I think ROTC actually does that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or they claim to. Because
No, it helps. ROTC helps.
It does. But
I'm gonna put you you're not like an immediate commander or anything like that, but it helps.
Yeah. So Vladimir Putin became a student of law after high school and all of his judo, and he went to law school. He earned his degree in 1975. And that's when the KGB was like, we heard what your teacher said in 6th grade. We want you for the KGB. We heard you were a young troublemaking rascal, but good at judo. So
he also knew a bunch of languages, right?
Yeah,
Which
German specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So that gets into what he did for the KGB. Something funny. Putin looks like Dobby the elf
Who's Dobby the elf?
from Harry Potter.
Potter.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, look up young Putin. He's got lips like Dobby the elf.
You don't know Dobby?
Yeah,
Never seen Harry Potter.
his whole
I'm not even like a Harry
face
Potter
shape.
guy. I've seen all the Harry Potters.
Yeah, it's a day I know it doesn't seem like a huge generational divide, but PFT, you were in high school when the first book came out, right?
I just never got into it. I do know this guy, Dobby. Yeah, I know Dobby. He does look like Putin.
The nose. I was arguing with someone the other day that I think we actually, my generation grew up in the golden age of books before the internet came in and everyone stopped reading books, like Harry Potter, Pendragon, Aragon,
Hunger Games.
Percy Jackson, Hunger Games,
Twilight.
Alex Rider, Twilight,
Divergent.
Pendragon. Did I say Pendragon?
Yeah. It's all the teens dying in some weird
Golden
fashion.
Compass.
Most of Billy's examples have to do with dragons.
PFT, what was it the other day that I asked? We were talking something about 2003, and I was like, "How old were you in 2003?" And you were like, "Oh, I was a senior in high school." I was like, "Fuck." You don't seem that much older than me now, I guess, because we're both adults. But when I was 6 and you were a senior in high school, that made it seem like you were way older than me.
Yeah. It is weird to think about that way. When we were growing up, we didn't have Harry Potter wasn't really a thing until I got I think maybe high school.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just never got into it. I was always, what I was into was the Redwall series. Did you guys read Redwall?
Never heard of it.
Man.
Oh, Redwall.
It's all the animals. The animals become
Yes.
warriors, and they've got these little animal communities, and they have these big feasts and
That's
shit.
there's what was the one? There was a book series like that. Yep.
So no, I used to read Redwall. I bought all the Redwall books.
Yeah, they're sick. Martin the Warrior.
Yeah, but think about this. I bought all the Redwall books because I loved reading. So then I opened up the first one. And I bought a bunch. I was so excited, and it was all in vernacular English. So we all know I have bad pronunciations of words I read. So I was trying to pronounce Old English, and I didn't know what the words meant because it was all written like oh, she's on the wall, the red wall, and they'd spell red wall differently, and I was literally I need the words to be in my head. I can't be reading it out loud and then trying to figure out what I said. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
It's very funny.
The descriptions of the feasts that they would have in the Redwall books were amazing. It's Brian Jocks who wrote them, and it's like these squirrels and these possums that are dressed up in like knights outfits, and they have these giant battles. They're kings and queens and shit.
Oh yeah, and the otters and the wolves, and who are the bad guys? The bad guys are the predators, right?
I forget. I need to go
Who
back
owns
and
this
reread it.
IP?
Can we? Yeah, we need a goddamn Netflix series.
Yeah, they 100% should have made this into something on like HBO.
I don't think anyone could read it.
Well, that's why it'd be turned into a TV show.
Can you read a passage from it in the vernacular so that people understand what I'm saying?
So
because it frustrated me so much because it was so down my alley, and I was like busted as a small child, just like so upset I couldn't read it.
So I don't know.
And I tried.
I don't know what you're talking about, Billy.
Do
Because
you remember how it was written?
This is from the Bellmaker when they're describing a feast. It was a joyous meal for honest creatures. Dishes were passed to be shared, both sweet and savory. October ale and strawberry cordial, tarts, pies, flans, and puddings, served out and replaced by fresh delights from Red Wall's kitchens. Turnovers, trifles, breads, fondants, salads, pasties, and cheeses, alternated with beakers of green sap milk, mint tea, rose ship cup, and elderberry wine. I've never had any of that, but it all sounds delicious.
Gruffgut was not impressed. Yar's only a lickle on, stick it on a fire and go on catcher some big uns. An excited whoop rang out from farther up the bank. Yagoo, come on see dis mats, I gory eagle. Can you read this?
Okay, so I think some of the dialogue.
Gruffgut heaved his bulk up irately. What's that frog eye shouting about now? Plugtail, another of the gang, came scaring up. Chief, frog eyes captured an eagle. So when I read it out loud, it makes sense, but when you're trying to read in your head, it doesn't make sense.
All right. Well, I think you need to go back and read them. Now that you're smarter,
Yeah.
you can probably process it.
I'll get
But
'em.
they were great books. That's what I read growing up. Also, Hatchet. I read Hatchet like 4 times. You would love Hatchet, Billy. You would love it. It's about a kid that survives a plane crash, and then he has to survive in the woods of Canada all on his own. He just learns how to hunt. He goes back, return to monkey. He becomes the Liver King. Yeah.
By the way, turns out that's problematic, that statement.
Is it?
Someone said it at the Liver King thing, and one guy was like, yo, that's got so much implication. I was like, I don't know what the implication is. I thought they just want to be monkey.
All right.
There was another book.
We can get back to the Red Wall books. It's like, hang on, Frank's screaming in the hallway about something.
It's Frank. So Putin, then he's in the KGB. This is where they had a lot of they have a lot of people yelling. No one's yelling. Someone yelling outside.
Frank's yelling out.
Frank's yelling
Frank
outside.
I know what it's about just from the sound I heard. He's talking about Buster Olney. Because every time he talks about Buster Olney, he goes, "Din-in-it, din-in-it."
So
it's the funniest shit. I went to the Devils game yesterday, and they were giving out bobbleheads. And I looked to see if Frank posted about the game or anything, and he didn't. I was like, maybe Frank didn't go this one. I'll give him the bobblehead. And he walked in this morning. I was like, Frank, I was at the Devils game yesterday. I got one of these bobbleheads. Were you at the game? He goes, yep, got 2 of them. I was like, okay, guess he doesn't need mine then.
We should have Frank on. Maybe this is more of part of my take thing, but we'll get him to just because we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to the lockout. Just have
you
Frank's,
gotta have him on.
Frank's analysis of the MLB lockout.
So he went and trained in Moscow. He did a bunch of KGB training, and at some point, so what they trained him in, and I'll pull up this part, is he was trained in linguistics, and so basically he trained to be, his cover identity was of a translator, and that's when he was transferred to Dresden, Germany, where he worked in the KGB offices, basically right next to the wall.
So the KGB, the Russian equivalent of the CIA, is what they always say, right?
Yeah. So we don't really know what happened when he was in the KGB. He was probably trained in covert intelligence, probably had some sort of combat training, CIA secret agent stuff, just put it all together. But this was another pivotal point of Putin's sort of worldview. In the biography, Mr. Putin, Fiona Hill, and Cliff Gaddy speculate his mission may have been to recruit top East German Communist Party and Stasi officials, steal technological secrets, compromise visiting Westerners, or travel undercover to Western Germany. At one point, so this is what really sort of may have been his invasion of Russia, motif. He's always been afraid that Russia would be invaded and something like Leningrad, which affected his family so dearly, would happen again. So when the wall fell, a crowd of people, the same people you see in the video, banging down the wall, breaking down the wall. But one of the first things they did was mob the KGB's Dresden location. He actually was in the Dresden location at the time, allegedly. And allegedly, while the KGB office was being overrun, he warded off looters, as he called them. They were probably just, celebrating the end of the USSR by shooting guns in the air to ward off everybody. At this point, to Putin, he said, it was clear the Union was ailing, and it had a terminal, incurable illness under the title of paralysis, a paralysis of power. This is when, after more subsequent advancements of him in the ranks, he became an official in Boris Yeltsin's subsequent administration and was appointed to lead the FSB, the post-Soviet successor to the KGB, in 1998. And this is when he made the jump from intelligence to government.
Yeah, he working for Putin or working for Yeltsin must have been probably not a great gig for Putin, knowing what we know about him. He's a pretty serious guy, and Yeltsin is one of history's finest drunks. Real drunk guy, to the point where when he visited the White House when Clinton had him, he just got hammered and walked out on the White House lawn looking for pizza in the middle of the night. He was found, I think, on the White House lawn in his underwear because he was hammered drunk. And then if you watch some of the press conferences, the joint conferences that Yeltsin and Clinton gave together, Yeltsin was still drunk from the night before, just giggling his brains off as they were doing a press conference answering questions from the media. So I can imagine that a guy like Putin probably he was looking at his boss the way that Jim looks at Michael Scott all the time. So Billy just ran out of the room. I wonder where he's going. Probably food related would be my guess.
Yeah, if we want to wait for Billy, a crazy story in the NFL just dropped.
I'm so sick of this fucking franchise, dude. I'm just so sick of it. It's like the tweet, I would just love to live in precedented times for once. I would just like to have a precedented franchise for once.
Wait, what happened?
Calvin Ridley has been suspended indefinitely and at least for the entire 2022 season for gambling on NFL games when he left the Falcons for his, quote, mental health break. So anything I said about respecting his mental health, I officially retract. I hope his mental health is doing atrocious.
That's over the line, Big T.
No. This guy's the woat. I'm so out.
Well, yeah, you're out because now you can't trade him.
Yeah. Oh man, what a guy.
That's incredible.
Was he gambling responsibly? That's what I want to know.
Given that it's the A number one thing you can't do in his job, I would say it's inherently irresponsibly.
That's tough for your franchise there.
If you know you're not playing, and I understand the NFL has to act because you can't have active players gambling on sports. But if you know you're out for the season, does it really? I guess you can get extra intel that the regular public can't get, but I don't know. I don't know how bad this is. Because it just happened. I'm processing it in real time. It's very funny. As someone who's not completely affected by this, very funny.
Huh. How much insight do you think he could have?
Enough that it matters.
Honestly,
how hard is it to know to bet against the Falcons, I guess is the question.
Well, it's not even – well, I don't even – we could have an argument as to whether, you have enough insight to, be a sharp, I guess, or something. But, that's – you can't do that.
For sure.
That's I'm sure at the rookie symposium or whatever, they're like, hey, you explicitly can't do this ever for any reason.
If I had the access he had, I'd look at the playbook install for that week, look at the personnel packages for that week, look at the goal line, what was implemented that week, and just bet player props.
Okay,
player props.
So here's how we discover what actually happened. So NFL just released a statement. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell suspended Calvin Ridley indefinitely through at least the conclusion of the 2022 season for betting on NFL games in the 2021 season. The activity took place during a 5-day period in late November 2021 while Ridley was not with the team and was away from the club's facility on the non-football illness list. So, 5-day period in late November. What was happening to the Falcons at that point? Let's look it up.
They weren't good.
Very fun.
They had a run at the end of the season where they won a few games. So late November,
I think he was betting on his own player prop.
He wasn't playing.
Right,
Yeah.
but like
Under.
Take the under.
take the under, yeah.
So
I disavow Big T's stigma of mental health earlier.
Yeah, he's like a Philly fan.
only for him. So November 14th, they lost 43-3 at the Cowboys. November 18th, they lost 25-0 to the Patriots. November 28th, they beat the Jaguars 21-14.
He probably bet on the Falcons against the Jaguars.
It can't be real. He's gonna tweet from yesterday.
It's
Literally
so
yesterday
funny.
at 3:30 that said, "I learned from my L's," which is now the best tweet of all time.
Yeah, it sure is. I'm gonna have to screenshot that one because that might be coming down.
Damn. All right. Well,
So
Roger Goodell laying down the law. I wonder how many other players out there are like, uh-oh.
A year suspension is crazy. Like, Pete Rose cannot be in the Hall of Fame because he was betting on games as a manager. Like, he was a player, an active player. Got a 1-year suspension.
Wait. When was the game of the year?
says
When was Big Cat's game of the year? The Pittsburgh one.
Wow.
Did he? Maybe he got swept up in all the commotion around it. He was doing the can't
Many
lose
are asking.
parlay.
Many are asking.
why was he out non-football?
He
And
left the team
yeah,
in the middle of the
PFT,
season.
If you want to take it a step further, Calvin Ridley's brother played for the Bears. Could be a big cat guy.
Oh, what were the Bears games? Because he probably could have gotten inside information about the Bears, whether or not it was going to be Andy Dalton playing or Justin Fields.
Let's take a
Huh.
look.
That would probably be significant betting intel, right?
I would imagine, yeah.
November 8th, they lost at the Steelers 29-27. Then they had a bye. November 21st, they lost to the Ravens 16-13. And November 25th, which was Thanksgiving, they beat the Lions 16-14.
That's right. I remember that.
So
And that was the game where they were trying to figure out who was going to start at quarterback. It was going to be, what's his name? If it was going to be Jared Goff or who was the other guy they had starting that game?
Do you think
yeah.
he was betting like on a sports book? Like that he signed up for a sports book with his real name and shit?
I would imagine that's how he got that was my
Yeah.
first inclination, is how he got caught, just by registering under his own legal government name.
Oh.
But that hasn't come out yet. That's
Because
all
a bookie would be connected, right?
Well, the good news is, Big T, you already played basically a season without him. I think you were.
But they were going to trade him though.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Oh yeah, he was the.
He was going to get a first and a third.
that's tough.
Yeah,
Probably not that high.
you
but-
would have got more than the nothing you're going to get now. Now he's not going to play, and you can't trade him, which is a tough scene.
We should hire him.
Honestly, would be an incredible move.
Yeah.
Incredible move. What if he's just a sharp? He's the sharpest gambler in the country. He's like, I don't need my NFL money. I made that in one weekend.
All right. I'm sorry for your loss, Big T.
Thank you.
Will you,
I am the real victim in this.
will you acknowledge that?
It's us. It's the fans. The fans are the victims. He committed a victimless crime, unless you count Falcons fans, who have already been victimized enough, in my estimation.
Yeah, is this even a top 5 worst?
No, I
thing
mean, when I was a
for
child, the
Falcons?
best player in the history of the franchise went to federal prison for heading up a dogfighting ring. So as
financing.
suspensions go, not in the top couple.
When you say it that way, it really does sound pretty absurd.
It's the most absurd story in the history of sports.
And then before you were born, their Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee.
yeah, the
On the night before the
Before-
Super Bowl,
Yeah.
was arrested for trying to find a hooker.
that's correct. Yeah,
So there's
That's
that
just guys,
too.
both Super Bowls have not gone well for the Falcons.
Yeah.
You really got to say.
All right, Putin.
So everyone in the Russian government was drunk since the wall fell. They're all just drunk.
Yeah, we were talking about Boris Yeltsin being
huge drunk.
Big booze hound.
Huge drunk. And basically, Putin knew how to grow up around drunks and how to manipulate drunks. And using his KGB, what they called chameleon skills, rose the ranks of government until he basically was chosen to be president because he was the only one who was sober. That was literally one of the reasons why he was chosen. And at that time, the oligarchs, there was about 200 oligarchs after the wall fell that basically divvied up all the industry and, different sectors of business in Russia. And were basically the oligarchs sort of used their manipulation, money, investments, status, and power to decide who the next president is. And basically, the president of Russia in the post-USSR world was just basically a custodian of all the oligarchs and just a custodian and representation of democracy of, to the people, but basically just controlled all the oligarchs, dealt with, different fights and grievances within the oligarchs. And when we talk about oligarchs, these are just super rich people in Russia who have these giant yachts. They all now live in London. They go to Yacht Week in Montenegro. Those are like usually the bad guys in Bond movies. So these guys basically used the Russian government as their puppet, and they chose Putin because they're like, you know what? We had this drunk Yeltsin. Let's get a sober guy in, hopefully run the country better, maybe just get this whole democracy thing making look a little bit better for the rest of the world. So Putin gets in, uses his chameleon type approach, and basically because he was so unassuming, shorter guy, Dobby looking guy, no one thought he'd be a threat of any kind. 20 years ago, if you'd asked me or basically anyone whether Vladimir Putin would become the longest-serving Russian leader since Joseph Stalin, the response would have likely been either incredulous silence or uproarious laughter, says a political scientist, Johnson.
So it's it's interesting when Billy was talking about how like Putin was the only sober guy there. Citation probably needed on that one, but
yeah,
it strikes me that Russia is like if you gave an entire country to the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
just like they want to stay warm, they eat a lot of hearty meals just to keep themselves warm from the inside out. They drink a shitload over there. I think the study that I saw said that the average Russian, it's like 12 liters of alcohol per year. On average, mind you. On average, that's what they drink. So the average person takes 2 shots of vodka. That's average. So that's like you've got people in there that are not of drinking age mixed in, but the average individual does about 2 shots a day. Also, the Green Bay Packers are communist. They're owned by the,
So listen to this. So if you look at the stats nowadays, I think the largest drinker in the world is either Belarus or Poland, because Russians might have a reputation as a nation of hard drinkers, but a report by the World Health Organization published Tuesday showed their alcohol consumption has dropped by more than 40% from its peak in the early 2000s. The WHO put the decrease down to a raft of measures brought in since sport-loving Vladimir Putin came to power in 2000, including restrictions on alcohol sales and promotion of healthy lifestyles. The Russian Federation has long been considered one of the heaviest drinking countries in the world, the report said, adding that alcohol was a major contributor to a spike in deaths in the 1990s. However, in recent years, these trends have been reversed. The study showed a 43% drop in alcohol consumption per capita from 2003 to 2016, driven by a steep decline in the consumption of bootleg booze. The author said this trend was a factor in increased life expectancies, which reached a historic peak in 2018 at 78 years for women and 68 years for men. In the turbulent early 1990s, male life expectancy was just 57. Under Putin, Russia has introduced measures including a ban on shops selling any alcohol after 11 p.m., increases in the minimal retail price of spirits, and advertising blackout. Also, interestingly, that statistic that beer was considered a foodstuff in Russia until like 2006, so they didn't even consider it alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Putin was like, yeah, that's alcohol.
He added it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Putin seems like if you're in Russia at this time, which is the nation of the heaviest drinkers, maybe ever, in the history of humanity, and you're the only relatively sober one, it's like you're playing SimCity on rookie level. So he's he took that time to become the most powerful guy in Russia. He essentially usurped Yeltsin. Eventually, he was no longer president, but then ran again, took the country back. And it seems like a guy that's just like, this is so easy to take advantage of everybody because everyone around me is drunk all the time. And now some people think that he is he might be one of the wealthiest people in the entire world. Just so much of his stuff is off the record books, but it was like him and the oligarchs that were just kind of battling for power, taking everything from everybody else. He made a lot of friends in that network too. And so I don't know. I've heard people say that there are trillionaires that exist in Russia, but just nobody knows. And I think like you could probably lump some of the Saudi royal family in there too, but nobody knows the extent of what their wealth.
And Putin had a lot of dealings with the underworld of Russia. A lot of the mafia was intertwined with the oligarchs, which was intertwined with the government. And Putin made I think there was some, basically, while he was head of the follow-up to the KGB, he was selling a lot of Soviet-era military technology to different parts of the former USSR, maybe even to, a lot of the wars in Yugoslavia and the Balkans. It was supplying a lot of armaments for little squabbles across the world, and that was sort of his dealings that got the oligarchs to be like, okay, this guy's down with the dirty stuff. He can be our president and let us still do our thing, which he actually started to bring back the Russian government. He used to he took a lot more power back to the government. He used the Russian intelligence community to start controlling oligarchs. You'll see that there was a couple of assassination of oligarchs that basically in the early 2000s showing like, oh, you guys think that all your money makes you untouchable? No, this is Russia. You can still be touched. We still have the power. We're going to rebuild this nation. And, post USSR Russia has sort of come to terms with, this Putin agenda, which is to rebuild Russia.
Yeah, so Putin has said that the biggest catastrophe of the 20th century was the USSR falling apart, which he saw firsthand, because obviously he did not experience firsthand the siege on the city like his relatives did. But that's the one thing that a lot of people have pointed to and been like, this is when Putin was like, that's when he became radicalized, was when he saw his country essentially just fall apart and be sold off for scraps.
And literally saw the people come over the wall and rush his KGB office in Dresden. Which, could that coupled with his family's past of the siege of Leningrad, you have a guy who is completely paranoid of Russia being overrun. Both the physical, the physical image of people rushing the KGB office, which was once so well respected and feared, as well as, his family's past and his paranoia that Russia might one day be invaded again.
I'll put it to you this way. It's like, Coley, what are you laughing at?
Someone said Calvin Ridley's FanDuel account name was Calvin Ridley from the Falcons.
I'm writing something very similar right now. Like, he just signed up using his, they take your social security number.
Wait, it was on FanDuel?
It was on as
Andrew
Siciliano
said Ridley placed parlay bets on NFL games using his cell phone, per Mike Garofalo. So that has to mean he was just on an actual sports book.
What apps are legal in Atlanta?
None. But you know what state they are legal in that we alluded to earlier? Illinois.
Interesting.
Yeah, plus, was he in Atlanta? Because he, like I said,
Doubtful.
He didn't play. Was he in Atlanta? He didn't have to be.
No, he could have been anywhere.
I think, I for one, think that the Barstool Sportsbook should add another check mark that you can put when you sign up. Are you a current player of an NFL team? Let's get ahead of this. We don't want to be. This is not the kind of marketing we need. What if he was a big stoolie?
It's an interesting dilemma. Do we want him to be using our app or not?
No, because then he's going to win all his bets because he's got the good inside information.
That I just mean right now that it's come out. I understand what you're saying from a financial, but do we want, man, our app's so good. Calvin Ridley put his career on the line to use it.
I think now we want him gambling with us.
Yeah.
We'll do like an exclusive bet with him, the Calvin Ridley parlay. We'll have him just lean into it. You're probably not going to play in the NFL again.
They have to. They have to ban him permanently. I think they have to.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever play again.
His the presenting sponsor of the NFL, I believe, is DraftKings. No,
I don't know.
I think they have deals with several.
I know MLB is they have one because they're a dumb sport. But yeah, the NFL wants all this gambling money. They can't they have to set a real hard. And I know even Big Ev just tweeted out oh, Ray Rice got 2 games. Yeah, that was bad. We all agree that was dumb of the NFL.
Yes, what Ray Rice did was horrific and terrible, and the NFL completely mismanaged it. This has an implication of billions and billions of dollars.
I haven't seen a good Ray Rice only got 2-game suspension
in a
long time. That used to be the go-to. I agree. Ray Rice should have been suspended for longer.
Right, but I don't think that you can't factor that into this. Big T saying, there's billions, potentially trillions on the line here if you look at how long the NFL is going to last.
While they are not on the same plane in terms of a humanitarian, I guess would be the word, standpoint, I am equally shocked right now as I remember being when I found out Michael Vick was going to prison for dogfighting. This seems equally as unlikely to me.
It's incredible, and I hate to derail the Russia stuff, but this is incredible.
What if it's not him and just someone using his name?
Like Big T saying, you have to give your social security number.
It seems more likely he would have been using someone else's than someone else using his.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to give your social and all sorts of stuff. They check your address.
Yeah, I think he got caught as easily as possible. Schefter just tweeted out, classic Schefter. He was saying the Falcons in good faith were declining trades because they knew of this impending suspension.
Oh,
that's why the Falcons are losers.
Oh, that better not be true. That better not be true.
That's what he tweeted. To go to Schefter. If they were notified of this investigation February 9th, I believe he said, I would have traded him February 9th for whatever pick any team gave me. That's when I would have.
You think that's what caused the suspension, him leaving the team?
What do you think the Patriots would have done?
I don't know. Why. Buddy, he would have been gone for a fourth and a bag of footballs 2 weeks ago.
Yep, they would have found the most recent former Patriots coach. Josh McDaniels would have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, we would have traded him to Vegas.
Yeah.
Trade him to Vegas.
You know what? Yeah, you think he's going to play in the USFL?
He could.
Oh my God, he'd tear it up.
XFL?
Can they allow it though?
Yeah, I think the XFL.
Well,
if they want to,
the XFL's working with the NFL though, I think it would have to be the USFL.
Yeah, USFL.
And if the USFL wants to have any sort of gambling presence, I don't think they can allow it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
not necessarily. If you're a brand new league, you can be like, oh yeah, we're also gambling.
That's true. It'd be a little awesome.
Now, is there a universal body? Is there a governing body about gambling? Like a gambling SEC in the United States?
It's state to state.
But
boards.
I think there's got to be a gambling SEC that's making sure that no one's rigging the game. Probably. Anyway.
All right, let it be known. Billy wants more regulation on our company.
Not our company. I'm more saying the league. I don't know.
I think
Jerry Thornton wrote a blog today about trading for Calvin Ridley and stuff.
I think the system is working as intended. If you sign up using your actual name and you're an NFL player.
What an unbelievable.
Did they narc on him?
Yeah,
they'd have to.
The companies also had a lot to lose from just letting it slide. You can't just be we know for a fact Calvin Ridley is putting big money on the Falcons. We cannot let this go. That's tough. It's a tough scene.
I want to know what the offers were. I gotta know.
$25 free. Oh, Calvin's
no. The trade offers they got, not the promo code he used.
Yeah. That's what I'm picturing. He was just watching TV and those promo code commercials just finally. Imagine if he was betting through Caesars. He was just a big what's his fucking name?
JB Smooth.
Yeah, JB Smooth. He's just man, I love that guy. I got to do what he's doing. Very funny.
Damn. All right. Back to Pooty Poot.
So Pooty Poot Putin manipulated the government, got his shit in order. So a lot of the tactics as deployed by the KGB in the 1970s and 80s, using illicit funds to buy off and corrupt Western politicians and institutions, was now used by Putin and government. The only difference now is that they've been funded by a much deeper well of cash, enabling them to penetrate much further into Western markets. Russia has succeeded in exacerbating weaknesses and divisions in Western society. Compared to 20 years ago, Western liberal democracy is under siege. But Putin and his men are no more than warped relics of an earlier era that have yet to learn that without building a strong competitive economy in their own country, the outcome of such short-term power games can only be the same collapse. So, basically, he has failed to sort of evolve beyond a petrostate, much like, which means as their whole economy relies on their oil exports and petroleum. So, without that, without opening up his economy fully to, say a NATO, making more efforts into trade, he's decided to become more isolationist, resist any sorts of immigration, like the rest of Europe, and sort of maintain this stronghold by also setting up a lot of proxy governments in places like Belarus, Ukraine formerly. Finland, I'd also say, is in Russia's pocket. Because in post-World War II, it was basically like the Germans were gone and Finland was there after having a hand in a lot of the stuff that the Germans were doing to the Russians, and they're just basically, please don't invade me. We'll do anything you say. Leave us alone.
So Putin, where are we at now with him?
Well, now...
Why do you think, in your head, based on the origin story, do you think that, like, he was... I think there's probably something to be said from the fact that he grew up around so many people that had seen such awful shit.
Right.
He probably had a fucked up childhood.
100%. I mean, I'd have to say, there's stories about the siege of Leningrad about mothers smothering their babies and cooking them to feed the rest of the children.
He did not have a normal childhood. So do you think he's a rational or irrational actor now?
I think he is an irrational actor because he is so concerned about another army running through Russia and committing another, Leningrad or the collapse of the Soviet Union type upheaval, that he is terrified and paranoid not only for the country but now himself, because he thinks he's now a target. So this paranoia has, I think, culminating a lot of his actions in Ukraine, as we talked about earlier. Every time Russia has been majorly invaded, it's been through the Russian plane, which goes through Ukraine, the Ukrainian plane, I should say.
European plane.
So Ukraine has always been a major spot for him, and ever since his Russian, the Russian puppet government has gone down in Ukraine during 2014, he has sort of made land claims in Crimea. Warm water ports has always been supportive of Russia's strength across the world, and he is just trying to regain parts of the Soviet Union to create that buffer zone to prevent something like Leningrad, which is so familiar in his headspace, from ever happening again.
Yeah, I think he wants to put the Soviet Union back together, because he was there when it fell apart. He's like, I miss this. Imagine like if if the South for some reason decide to break away, become their own nation, you would probably
I'm anti.
You would probably fight tooth and nail to get the South back, right?
Back to what? The United States?
Back to the United States.
Correct.
Yeah.
I am.
So you'd fight for the North.
I would fight for anyone who wanted to keep the United States as presently constituted.
Got it. So I think that's what Putin's big motivation is he just wants Russia to get back to the USSR.
Right. And more just having that buffer zone to defend, to prevent another large city from being, done to what he's seen his parents happen.
So it sounds like you're saying he's a rational actor.
I think in his own brain, he's a rational actor, but he is irrational when it comes to the implication of those actions. His actions are rational if there was no such thing as nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
He is acting as if nuclear weapons do not exist, which means he may, because I think, I don't know, I can't speak to Putin's headspace, but I think in his mind, a Russia that has, like, if Ukraine does not have Russian influence, then Russia will eventually fall, and he's willing to get nuked if that means Russia will one day fall. Because there was a quote, I don't know who said it, but someone said a world without Russia is not a world worth existing. I don't know if he said that or one of his advisors.
I do have breaking news here from Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
He has tweeted,
Mm-hmm. Very breaking.
I bet 1,500 total I don't have a gambling problem. That's a funny tweet.
Unbelievable.
That's a funny tweet.
Wait, he really said that?
Yeah, he just
I
tweeted
sent
that.
it to you.
Oh, I was finishing the blog. Oh my god, this guy.
I'll take that bet.
Yeah, this guy stinks at gambling.
Okay, so Dmitry Kiselyov is the guy who's on Russian state TV basically saying, why do we need a world if Russia's not in it? Which is, so basically after the Soviet Union fell, Russian nationalism was really the only thing gearing this all together. The idea that the Russians had fought and died for Russia and that they should do whatever they can to defend Russia, and sort of a lot of the ethno-nationalist, type stances. The thing is, what's interesting, and I don't know if you guys saw the video I sent you, is how Putin has sold this war to the rest of the Russian people. Is basically claiming that Ukraine is under a Nazi regime that needs to be liberated, and that there's ethnic Russians as well as ethnic Ukrainians in Ukraine who want to be freed from this fascist Nazi regime. Now, that's up for debate. I mean, it's not really up for debate. The current government of Ukraine is not a fascist government. Are there Nazis in Ukraine? That's where it gets a little complicated.
Yes, there are. It's not
Yeah.
complicated. There are.
Yeah.
There definitely are. Now, he's saying that he's invading Ukraine to get rid of the Nazis, and that's the reason why. That's not the reason why.
Yeah.
But there are Nazis anywhere in Eastern Europe. If you look especially across the military, there are a lot of people that are either members of active Nazi, like neo-Nazi groups, or sympathetic to neo-Nazi groups.
So
I'm not saying it's like all of Ukraine. I'm saying that there's documented evidence that there are certain individuals in certain groups that are more sympathetic than others.
I'd liken to what the situation kind of is with the Nazi groups in Ukraine to the freedom fighters in Afghanistan when the Russians were invaded, in that they are extremists, but they got a lot of, basically they're the only people in Ukraine willing to fight the Russians in the early days. So they ended up getting a shit ton of military hardware, and all, like, I don't know. It's just, they were sort of the Ukrainian government considered them a necessary evil to fight off the Russians.
Yeah, they definitely have members there, but that's not the real reason why Putin's doing it.
Yeah.
But it's a convenient excuse for him. Because if you're saying I'm fighting against Nazis,
yeah,
it's tough for people to be like, well, no, maybe you shouldn't do that.
and also remember, it's in the Russian national conscience, especially among the older generation, that they hate fucking Nazis more than, like, really.
Yeah. I was doing some reading about Putin, preparing for this a little bit. It's very interesting seeing how the years go back and where his hatred for certain United States politicians comes from, because he hates Hillary Clinton. Absolutely cannot stand her. Going back to like the mid 2000s, she was getting like real tough on him. She was like speaking out against him when not a lot of people were, and he determined at that point, he's like, you know what, I'm going to get her back one day. And so when the whole Trump stuff happened, and so this is actually a fact. If you read any of the investigations that have been done, I know that Big T might disagree with me based on like the whole Russian collusion thing. So I'm not going to even talk about collusion. But there's documented evidence that Putin was like, he was like leading the online charge against Hillary Clinton. That was like his stated thing. He put that into motion, and it goes back to like the Clintons kind of meddling in Russian affairs and Russian elections, which is something that the United States has done for hundreds of years, is try to influence other elections. But when we tried to do it to Putin. He's like, okay, I'm gonna file this in my back pocket, and then I'm gonna wait to come out and really fuck. I'll show you what fucking with an election looks like, which he certainly ended up doing.
Yeah, and also Putin did institute a couple rules to basically extend his term limit, put another guy in office, and then got himself elected after that guy came to just reset his term limits.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been in power for 21 years now, kind of, with that brief hiatus.
How much money do you think he has? Because I saw a picture of his palace, one of his palaces that he has on the Black Sea.
Oh yeah,
he's living large, but I don't think I would want to live in a place that big.
Well,
he essentially lives in a city of himself.
I heard it's a state within a state. So hypothetically, if Russia does get invaded, he's gonna have like a basically a Vatican within Russia. That's just like old Russia, communist place.
So when I was on vacation, I saw some people driving by in these giant yachts, and you have to have like a staff of 40 or 50 people on these mega yachts. And that's the same thing as like having a giant house to me. It would just be a pain in the ass to keep it clean. You have to like pay all these people. You have workers that work for you in your own house.
I mean, that's why you got a lot of people with private planes doing lend-lease back programs with them, because it's cheaper to keep them flying and have other people fly the plane while you're not using it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even think you could create a payment structure like that for yacht.
Probably not. Well, I can tell that Big T is distracted by with reason.
Yeah,
Calvin Ridley news. It's
this guy just keeps tweeting. He's so stupid.
He tweeted again.
Yeah. So when y'all said his tweet, I didn't understand it at first. He's saying, "I bet $1,500 total. Period. I don't have a gambling problem. Period." I thought he was saying, "I will bet you $1,500. I don't have a gambling problem."
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying he bet $1,500. Then he says, "I couldn't even watch football at that point." And then he said, "Just going to be more healthy when I come back." Well, I got some bad news, pal. It's going to be a while.
Yeah, you're right. So his tweet was, "I bet $1,500 total. I don't have a gambling problem." There was no period in the tweet.
Yeah,
but
he was saying
that he only bet
$1,500, which some would say gambling at all and jeopardizing your entire career is a bit of a problem.
It's an issue. You know what? I'm anti-unit shaming. I'm gonna unit shame Calvin Ridley if he only bet $1,500.
Do you think how many bets?
That parlay had to have been crazy.
Yeah, I need to know if you won.
How many bets do we think he placed? One parlay at $1,500?
Sounds to me, if I were to bet, I'd say we can bet on Calvin Ridley's betting habits.
Yeah.
I think the favorite's got to be 3 parlays, 500 each.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think he might have done one at 500, lost, and then bet 1,000 to try and make it back.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, I can't afford to lose this 500.
Yeah, he doubled down.
Yeah, I think he wouldn't say total if it was just one bet, right?
Correct. No chance.
That's a good point.
Definitely multiple bets.
I'm going with 2.
All right, so I think that probably wraps up for Pooty Poot, unless anyone has anything to add. We can do some voicemails.
Poot.
Well, before we get to voicemails, I want to talk to you about Helix Sleep. I love Helix Sleep. I sleep good at night, and you know why? It's because I've got a Helix Sleep mattress. I was sleeping on a mattress that was too soft. Did not realize that was a thing, but it screwed up my back. Helix Sleep is the best night's sleep that I've ever had. I love my Helix Sleep. I've had it for months. I can't believe how well I've been sleeping. I wake up feeling so rested and refreshed. It's the best mattress that I've ever owned. Helix Sleep even has a quiz. It just takes 2 minutes to complete. It matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. Everyone's unique, and Helix knows that, so they have several different mattresses to choose from. I can't stress enough, it is the best night's sleep that you will ever get. If you're in the market for a new mattress, trust me, get a Helix. Invest in a good mattress that makes your days, weeks, months, years. It makes your entire life better if you have a refreshing night's sleep. You know the feeling that you get when you wake up and you just you get out of bed in the morning and it just feels like it's going to be a bright day? That's the feeling of a good night's sleep. That's what I get because I have a Helix mattress. They even have a 10-year sleep warranty. You can try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Helix even has financing options and flexible payment plans. Great night's sleep is never far away. And they're going to give you $200 off. $200 off all mattress orders. And they're going to throw in 2 free pillows for our listeners when you go to helixsleep.com/dose. That's helixsleep.com/dose. Get up to $200 off and 2 free pillows. They even have mattresses with specialized cooling technology. If you and your family can never agree on the temperature of the thermostat, I don't know about you guys. I'm a hot sleeper. I wake up in the morning sweaty sometimes. I've noticed that with my Helix Sleep, I have not had one of those mornings where I wake up and the sheets are soaked through. It's the cooling technology. helixsleep.com/dose. Get up to $200 off and 2 free pillows.
Shefty dropped a tweet. Saw that?
Yeah.
About the trades.
Yeah, NFL.
Oh,
Yeah, we got
Go
an
ahead.
answer. NFL
You go.
determined that Calvin Ridley placed multi-leg parlay bets involving 3, 5, and 8 games that include the Falcons to win, per source.
He was betting on the Falcons?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so much worse.
To win.
Yeah, so he's
That's
an
even
idiot.
worse. He knows they're
So
not going
he's
to
a
win.
dumbass. Well,
But they-
not that we didn't know that, but
But they did beat the Jaguars.
first of all, an 8-leg NFL parlay as
That's fun.
the,
Yeah, he went
that's
0 for 3.
that's
He
not
went 0 for
hitting. But this guy.
In Illinois.
Wait, did it say that?
No, it says out of state.
Oh,
We're
Where I say
speculating.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Where I say,
we said that.
I know, but I saw it somewhere too. I saw the word Illinois. Anyway. Yeah, let's just, Putin's a bitch. Fuck Putin. We're not, this
Shorty.
podcast wasn't about us like saying, feel bad for Putin. Putin's a bitch.
It's his villain origin story.
It's his villain origin story. We're not trying to give sympathy for him. If he really wanted to make sure Russia never got invaded again, it would join NATO, make great allies, and make sure no one from Europe would want to invade, because you are an important part of world trade. But yeah,
Anti-Putin. Putin is canceled
Facts.
for invading Orlando Bloom's house.
Oh, does he have a house in Ukraine?
Probably. That's probably why he got canceled.
Where's Orlando? Is Orlando Bloom from Ukraine?
No, there was that one clip of Sophia talking to the other podcaster about getting canceled.
Oh.
Yeah. She was like, well, I robbed Orlando Bloom's house. So that.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, you want to do some voicemails?
Yep. Ready?
Yep.
Hey gang, this is Alex from Brooklyn. I just wanted to know if you guys each had to have one piece of statement jewelry, whether it be a big ass chain, bracelet, watch, a ring, what would it be? Thanks, and stay handsome/gorgeous.
So a piece of jewelry to flex.
Like you're known by this. Like,
This is very easy for me.
I
I'm
think-
gonna purchase one.
say it.
Some variation. I know you can buy like replica team championship rings.
Mhm.
I'm getting a Braves World Series ring of some degree of like. I think they make super shitty ones, and then like ones that
Yeah,
are more
they're
that
levels.
kind of look
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
To some degree, I will be purchasing one.
That's very funny because if you talk to players that have won a ring, they're like, no, I never wear it. Maybe like on a team
Yeah, I
reunion
mean, when
night,
would you wear it?
but you would wear it.
Oh yeah, all the time.
No offense to
I love
people who
that.
wear jewelry. I think jewelry is the stupidest thing ever to wear.
Why? What about
Because-
women?
I mean, me personally, like the only thing you hear about people's jewelry is them losing it, getting it stolen, or having to sell it. Like there's like it's point.
Are you gonna be one of those guys that wears like a silicone wedding ring?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I actually like
Or
that. too.
tattoo.
It takes stinks. Sticking with the question, there's one correct answer, and that's a crown. There's no
Oh.
bigger flex of jewelry than an actual crown. The fact that there haven't been more rappers that have used crowns as like their statement piece is bizarre to me. I know it was bigger in like the 80s Big Daddy Kane era, but like the fact that that kind of died after Biggie's like one picture and a plastic crown, no one's ever come out with a crown. Like Floyd Mayweather not having a crown, bizarre. Crown is for sure the answer.
I like that. I like the crown. Also, a scepter would be pretty cool too. You don't
Scepter's
see
strong.
many dudes rocking scepter, but a crown is like, this is your king. You must respect him.
Yeah.
Oh wait, could I say battle axe?
No, you're just talking about weapons.
No, but like a
Jeweled battle axe.
yeah, jeweled battle axe.
No, that's an accessory at best.
But we're doing crowns and scepters.
Billy's like, what about a gun?
I want Al Chapo's golden gun.
Okay, so I think the crown stands. The scepter does not stand. Battle axe, no, that's
Definitely
not jewelry.
does.
Okay,
You know what'd be sick?
It's not
What if
jewelry.
if I ever lose an eye, heaven forbid, like forget about getting like a grill put in my mouth. I would get a golden eye
Ew.
with diamonds. How sick would that be?
It hurt.
I've never
Hurts a
seen.
blink.
Yeah, probably. But
Well, you don't need a blink if you don't have a real eye in there.
but look how cool it would be. Like,
Like-
a diamond gold eye with like maybe ruby, like just blinged
As-
out.
Like, what color would you have the pupil be? Or, like, what stone?
What's the blue one? The light blue one?
Sapphire.
Sapphire maybe?
Aquamarine, something.
Yeah, I would do like a sapphire. When I was high, I would replace it so it would be the ruby would be the pupil. That's how you could tell. Or if I was really activating myself on crypto, then I would put the red eye in also. But yeah, I feel like a gold eye would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But I probably would never have one of my own eyes taken out to replace it with that.
But if you happen to lose it in an awful accident, or if you got a
Yeah.
disease,
Yeah.
If one of Billy's attempted murder attempts
somewhat worse.
results in a lost eyeball.
Yeah.
I'm not in that.
Eyes are a tough thing to mess with.
So what are yeah, Billy, you wouldn't have any sort of jewelry?
No.
Belly button ring?
No.
Butt plug?
Prince Albert.
Prince Albert, yeah. That would probably stretch you out pretty badly. Tongue ring? No?
Split tongue. We'll count that as jewelry.
Fangs.
Bangs. Yeah.
Billy, like, you get like your teeth shaved so they're like pointed at the end.
I want 2 like silver fangs,
Fangs.
like so I'm like a saber-toothed tiger.
That would be cool. What
Like
about
a
you, Mad
wolf.
Dog?
I'd want like pimped out brass rings or brass knuckles. Brass knuckles.
That's a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'll
you
allow
wear
that.
them. But you wear them
Why
as
are you
rings.
choosing?
You
could
cannot
actually-
just wear brass knuckles recreationally. You will get arrested.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Oh, my-
weapon.
It's a weapon. So.
Oh shit.
I'm not gonna say his name, but I have a friend who crossed the Canadian border with
Brass
knuckles and got a weapon smuggling charge.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and it was bad. He had to go to court. Yeah.
Was that something that happened recently? They like made them legal for a hot second, like mid-pandemic.
2013 was a big year for brass knuckles. I remember.
Also,
Okay.
gravity knives.
I don't know what that is.
The knives that you can turn and you can like and they come out.
Oh.
You have to use gravity to
Switchblade?
get them out. They're different than a switchblade because you can just throw them out.
Like a lightsaber?
You use centripetal force to force the blade out, and it locks. You have
Yeah,
to
that's
press it. Well, it comes out easily and quickly.
So like a deadly concealed knife is illegal.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or spring-loaded blade. That's another one that can get you.
I got my one weapon confiscated from me last week. I was upset about that.
What was it?
A shiv. I have a shiv at the end of my keys.
You have a shiv? Did you?
No,
Make
I
it?
didn't know. The guy, I was at a concert and the guy went through my purse and he was like, "You can't have this."
What are you doing rolling around with a shiv?
Did you make the shiv? The shiv's usually
No.
homemade.
No.
Who
It's
made
like,
it for you?
It was a gift. Someone bought it for me.
You can't buy a shiv. Then it's
It was like one of those, like a stabbing thing.
then it's a steak. Then you're hunting vampires.
Knife.
Like it had like places where I put my fingers and I
Dude.
would carry it home with me and I had my
If-
keys on the end.
If I was a woman living in New York City nowadays, I'd go strapped everywhere with whatever weapons I could
That's
get.
why I had my shiv.
Yeah.
That's my second one that got confiscated too.
I think I could pull off a gold chain too, like a sick gold chain.
Well, then it just gets stolen. The only
Well,
it's,
who do you think you think my chain would get stolen? Your problem, Billy, is like no one ever talks about all the good stuff that jewelry does for you.
right? What is
You
the
look
good
cool.
stuff? Is that worth losing money?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley looks super cool right now to non-Falcons fans, and he lost him $11 million.
I think PFT would look cool in a chain.
Thank you, Mad Dog.
Yeah, people are tweeting me like, "You're just mad he left the team." Yeah, Yes.
Correct. Yep.
For mental health reasons and was then gambling on games. Yeah, I'm a little perturbed.
All right, ready for the next voicemail?
Yep.
Hey, this is Garrett from Utah. I just got a question. Not too familiar with the rules of hockey, but if you could take the biggest person and just shove them on the goal line and to block the entire goal, who would it be? Fix the rules if you know them, Avery. I'm not a big hockey guy, but yeah.
Rip.
Is he saying, why can't you do this, or who would you pick to
Who
do
would
that?
you
I
pick?
think it's a combination of the two. This is something that like people have talked about for a while. Like just get a fat guy. To
Well,
play
no,
goalie.
we've uncovered the answer previously on this show. Aaron Donald.
Jordan Davis.
Aaron Donald is the answer for everything.
Yeah, no, Aaron Donald could play goalie.
Well, why wouldn't you get a wider person?
Like a sumo
You
wrestler.
have
Yeah,
to be
that's what-
very agile to play goalie.
Right, but you just sit. in
Not
front
if
of the
you're
goal.
so big you physically block the entire net.
Yeah,
Aaron
well,
Donald's
that's why
not
I was
big enough.
confused
He's
as to the
undersized.
question.
Yeah.
So
Can't you lay him down sideways though?
yeah, I've always thought that the better alternative to that would be to do the stack. So you just get
Yeah.
5 guys to lay down all on each other's backs, and they cover up. They would be tall enough to block the entire net. Now you're just going to get slap shots hit at you.
Yeah, your team wouldn't last very long.
But if you had like 30
Oh, man.
seconds to kill, like let's run the stack, boys. Everybody in the crease.
So I looked it up. Basically, there's certain regulation to how big the pads can be. So if you have a really, really fat person, they can't have bigger pads, which leaves more of them exposed. And after a couple slap shots, allegedly, they'd probably be leaving the ice on a stretcher.
You could also just catch them.
But like their argument is he's not fat. He's too fat to catch.
I'm picking Jordan Davis.
Not a bad pick.
I think he has a huge 5-hole.
You can take. I want to get more world-class athletes on this show and have you tell them these things to their face.
Aaron Donald's a very, very good player, and Jordan Davis is a very, very freak of nature. But do you understand? Jordan Davis has long ass legs. For him to be on skates, he's a giant. He might see his 5-hole might take up the whole net, and his whole torso might be above the net.
You know what I would do? I mean, I think the right answer here is to just take an NHL goalie and then get them fat as fuck. Why haven't they done that? Somebody that already has the skills, the hand-eye coordination. Can you imagine that? It's like, hey, Marc-Andre Fleury, we're gonna foie gras style feed you butter all day like a goose.
Take him to the sumo frat house.
Yeah, you're gonna live in a sumo frat. We're gonna stick a beer bong down your throat, and you're just gonna funnel butter all day, every day, and then you'll be 350 pounds, and you'll be way better.
From what I've heard from goalies is that a lot of it is just sitting there sweating in your pads,
Yeah.
so it's hard to keep on weight.
Yep.
From what I heard.
All right, we got another one.
Yep, more.
Hey everybody, this is Chris in Charleston, South Carolina. Great podcast, love everybody. Everybody brings different dynamics to the show. I had a quick question. I take vitamins, obviously the normal stuff like the multivitamins, the vitamin D, the vitamin B, but my fiance takes like a huge container full of vitamins every day, from the normal stuff to garlic to turmeric to all these things you can't even pronounce. And I've heard so many different ideas about how effective or the efficacy of vitamins are. Do you really think that they're actually worth taking in the long run of things? Or do you think it's more just really not doing anything and going right out of your body immediately as you're taking them? Appreciate it. Have a good rest of the day, guys. Talk to you.
This is for Billy.
So, as someone who literally eats vitamins for breakfast and almost chokes himself by just trying to do them all in one handful, as long as so they all do have different modes of application and should in all theory work. Turmeric's one that is amazing for anti-inflammation, for soreness, but basically a lot of people say that vitamins is just expensive piss because it all just comes out of your system. But if you make sure you have bioperin, black pepper, with your supplements, your body absorbs more of the nutrients and basically makes your supplement absorption more effective.
So you need an additional supplement for the supplements to work.
Exactly.
Got it.
That makes sense. My favorite part about taking any sort of vitamin or supplement is the piss. Like 3 hours later, you go take a leak and your pee is like neon orange.
Oh, that's the B vitamins.
I love that. That's how I know that my body is being affected in some way.
Yeah. I love sometimes leaving it, and then people are like, "Who's pissing neon colors?"
Yeah.
And it's like that guy's radioactive.
I don't care about anything else. That's my favorite part of the vitamins.
But how do you know that they're actually work? Like, do you actually notice a difference, Billy, in your day-to-day life?
Especially in vascularity and work output. I mean, PFT has been on my regimen.
Billy hasn't given me his regiment though in like a month.
Well, I'm trying to adjust it because basically
right now you're just doing an
no,
excuse.
you basically your prostate got way too jacked up on it and caused you urinary tract problems.
I was peeing a lot. Yeah, that's true.
But isn't that a good thing, or is there too much?
Billy's also just using that as an excuse for why he hasn't re-upped my supplements in over a month.
We're gonna get to that. We've been on the road.
See, here's another.
I haven't been taking.
Here's another example of an excuse.
I will get them to you promptly tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. We're taking bets on that. I think I'm going to take the under.
It's a yes or.
On when you'll get them.
Yeah, they'll get here by like Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow that's
by nanodosing.
We also gotta get your soups out. Play.
I was gonna ask, have you had any of the soup yet?
I did try the soup. I made some of the potato cheddar soup. It's potato rice cheddar. It's not bad.
What form does it come in?
It's in a powder.
Okay, yeah.
I was hoping it would be like a soup that I could just pour out, but no. This is got 6 giant canisters sitting on my desk right now, and it's just a powder that you take out in a scoop. You stir it all up. You put it in the microwave. You put hot water in it. You're supposed to cook it on a stove, but I don't want to do that. It's not bad soup. It's better than I thought that it would be.
Like Panera levels?
Yeah, kind of like that. If we were in a situation where it was the apocalypse, and that's all that I had to eat for a year, I think I could do it. Now, there's one of the soups is called Traveler's Stew, and it requires that you put bouillon in it. What am I, like a French gourmet chef? I don't have bouillon laying around.
Bouillon, that's something you could store for a long time.
Yeah, you can. Yes, I could go out and theoretically buy bouillon, but I don't have. My bouillon supplies are limited.
It's gonna come with. If it doesn't come with the package, it's a fraud package.
Yeah, it should, like how the ramen comes with the flavoring packet. It should come with the bouillon.
It absolutely should. And I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate alcohol into these soups because I've been trying to figure out a way for the last, I don't know, like year or so, how to make boozy soup. We interviewed Guy Fieri about this, and it was about a lot of other stuff. I pitched him the idea of alcoholic soup. He kind of dismissed it a little bit because he thinks that the alcohol would cook off. I don't think so. I think if you add the alcohol in at the end as a floater almost, you can get a boozy soup.
Well, because that's kind of like what a Bloody Mary is.
Yeah, Bloody Mary is very similar.
Bloody Mary is kind of like a gazpacho.
It is a gazpacho, yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what else I can do, what other flavors of soup I could add. I bet you, like, if you put whiskey and chili, I bet that'd be good.
Boop. I'm calling it boop, booze soup.
Yeah, I don't know what else could I do. Maybe I feel like some sort of dark rum.
I was gonna say
in a
rum.
chowder.
I feel like it's a little too sweet.
What about French onion? I feel like we could throw something in French onion.
I feel like whiskey in a chowder would be good.
Whiskey in a chowder might be good.
Savory.
Just whiskey and anything. Really.
What about vodka?
Vodka in a French onion soup?
I think vodka's the easiest application.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like vodka sauce, like pasta, like you use it in cooking already.
Everclear.
Yeah.
And corn biz.
Or you put like a wine in French onion, like a white wine.
Yeah, you could put
a red wine.
You could put wines in there, but then you'd have to eat a lot of it to feel the effects.
That's also true.
So it's something I'm working on right now. I'm in the lab. So that does it for this week's macrodosing. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. We'll see you guys on Thursday for nanodosing. Be on the lookout. We've got some cool stuff coming up here. Love you guys.